A service of KIBMradio.com, the Internet's home for an all old-time radio.
Unto Moses, saying, Command the children of Israel that they bring unto thee pure oil olive, beaten for the light, to cause the lamps to burn continually in the tabernacle of the congregation. And it shall be a statute forever in your generation.
The eternal light. The National Broadcasting Company and its affiliated independent stations present The Eternal Light, a program which comes to you under the auspices of the Jewish Theological Seminary of America. Our drama today, by Morton Wishengrad, is entitled To the Disinherited. The narrator is Raymond Edward Johnson.
A citizen of the United States was on board this plane in October 1945. His name was Judge Simon H. Rifkin of the United States District Court of New York. He flew as civilian advisor on Jewish affairs in Europe to the American commanding general under appointment of the President of the United States to investigate the condition of displaced persons in the occupied areas of Germany and Austria. What follows now is based upon the things Judge Rifkin saw and reported.
I spent 5 months in the American zone of occupation. I spent 5 months among those who were beaten small as the dust before the wind, who were bowed down and fallen, who are now miraculously risen and stand upright and wait. They cannot wait much longer, for the foundation of their earth is laid bare. Their fruit is destroyed. Their seed is nearly vanished from among the children of men. I do not speak now of the static corrosion of poverty. I speak of the cold thrust of annihilation, of the Jew of Europe who has made a drink offering of his blood. You may not understand the mind of the living unless you understand first the process of death. I visited the graves of 6 million dead. I viewed the instruments of torture. I forced myself to look upon the fertilizer manufactured by thrifty Germans from the bones of their victims. And I stood beside a man whose mouth was twisted in the hurt that is beyond pain. A man spoke to me out of the nakedness of his soul.
You don't believe this, do you?
No, I don't believe it.
In your heart, you're saying that none of it is real.
Yes.
That this is only a stage set for a horrible play that never happened, that never will happen.
Yes, I want to believe that.
All right, believe it. It's easier that way. Human beings never did this to other human beings. It's all a monstrous lie. Let's go outside. I can't endure the smell.
Outside, the air was clean. Flowers were planted along the gravel walk. It was easy to believe that what I had seen was only a wild nightmare fantasy. Only the smell lingered. The smell of human decay that mingled with the odors of flowers. Then we met a man. He was also a fantasy.
Zeitlin, come here.
Yes?
This is the American who's come to help us.
What does he want?
He wants to talk to you, Zeitlin.
Does he have passports for us?
No.
Then he wants to make conversation. I don't care for conversation.
I want to help you, Zeitlin. Tell me what you need.
I need a substitute for the missing Earth. Do you have a substitute?
No, I don't have a substitute.
Then what's the good? People without a home are abnormal people. You'll talk to us, and you'll become abnormal, too. Better leave us alone.
Zeitlin, what's in your mind?
A prayer. I'm a fool. I keep saying a prayer over and over again. I keep saying, Lord, thou hast heard the desire of the humble. That man who is of the earth may be terrible no more. I keep saying it over and over again. I told you, I'm a fool.
This is the content of a mind that has no recent memory except of terror. This is the utterance of one man who has been submerged in bestiality, who has seen his brother and his friend deprived of even the last pitiful dignity that is owing to the dead. And the content of his mind is,
that man who is of the earth may be terrible no more.
Accommodate yourself to the utterance. For this is the real tragedy of those who have been emerged from the pit and found no place for the flesh to dwell in safety. The tragedy is not in the mass. There is no mass. The mass is a deceit. I shall tell you what there is. 100,000 separate and distinct lives, each separately exalted by the miracle of survival.
It is a miracle. It is a miracle of me. I am a Jew in Europe, and I am alive.
Where is your family?
Never ask that question.
I need to know.
There are no families. There are only individual survivors. There are no homes. There are only houses. Our houses, which the Germans live in.
It's my job to help you get those houses back.
No. No, we don't want to live in them now. Not here in Germany. Perhaps elsewhere, but not in Germany. We are sojourners in Europe now. 100,000 people who wait for promises to be fulfilled. We are not dead and we are not living. We are displaced.
I spoke to German citizens. The virus of hate has been well sown and the infection is embedded at the root. They too are displaced in civilization. And this corruption of the human spirit will be slow in healing. I spoke to them. They will admit that they have been stupid. Only a few will admit that they have been wicked. This is a demonstrable fact. And it is also a demonstrable fact that the sojourners of Germany and Austria are impatient of investigations and time-consuming, life-devouring commissions of inquiry.
Can't they understand us? We have come out of catastrophe into the humiliation of waiting. We are disillusioned now and frustrated. If we wait much longer, we will yield to despair. Before we yield to despair, we will explode. 100,000 people will explode.
Where do you want to go?
Out of Europe.
Suppose you could go. How long would it take you to be ready?
Do you mean that question?
Yes.
All right.
I'll answer it. My family lived in Austria for nearly 1,500 years. Until 5 years ago, I thought this was my country. I know better now. I'm ready to leave that 1,500 years in exactly 15 minutes.
I have spoken to these men and women. I shall not forget their faces. A man may commune with his heart upon his bed, but after he has seen these faces, he may never be still. He will tread his life down to the earth and lay his glory in the dust. For these are men begotten in the image of the Lord of loving kindness. And now their inward part is a yawning gulf, and their throat is an open sepulchre. They are cast down in the multitude of the transgressions of the world. And for them now the pledges and the promises that have been given are made with a smooth tongue, and no remembrance of the testimony of 6 million dead. This, too, is the real tragedy. They have lost faith in words. And it is not strange that a few of them have become demented by that loss of faith. This is what I saw in the camp at Landsberg.
Tell us your name.
I have no name.
What are you?
I am man, a little lower than the angels and crowned with glory and honor.
Don't worry about him, sir. The American doctors are giving him good care. His case isn't hopeless. Once he gets out of here, he'll become a normal man again.
May I ask him a question?
Of course.
Is there something you need? Something you want?
Nothing. No, there is something. I don't want to wear this suit. It is the prison uniform of the concentration camp. Tell them to give me another suit.
I will. I'll take it up with the commanding officer right away.
That's good. I don't want to wear this suit. It's the prison suit of the concentration camp.
He has a legitimate grievance.
Is he? He doesn't have to wear that prison suit. Have you seen anyone else wearing one? Do I?
No, that's right, you don't. Then he doesn't have to either?
No, but he wears the suit. Memories are the only thing he has left. The suit is a link to memories. He wants attention, and that's how he receives attention, by wearing a prison suit. There are only a few like him. They want 2 things, attention and security. Since the American Army came, the accommodations are very much better. But there were some who insist on living in one small room like chickens on a roost. It gives them security to be together. The miracle is that there are only a few like that.
In the 5 months that I was among the displaced persons of Germany and Austria, I saw many miracles. The miracle of people still sane, still godly, still exalted by dignity and personal grace. I went to Germany intending to help the few survivors, but I acknowledge now that they helped me. I acknowledge myself everlastingly in debt to them. They taught me the meaning of courage, of integrity, of charity. These are not just pretty words. There was the young man, pale-faced, dreamy-eyed, who nonchalantly said to me,
"Thank you for everything. I want to say goodbye now."
"Where are you going?"
"I'm going to Vilna. I found out this morning that my brother's child is still alive somewhere in Vilna. I'm going to find him and bring him here."
He had no money, no car, no gasoline, no passport, no travel documents. But he was setting out to cross and to recross 3 national frontiers, guarded by armed troops, to risk his life in order to rescue his brother's child. They taught me. When I saw them sharing their very meager rations with new arrivals, when I saw them dividing their tattered garments with those who had less, making room in their beds for those not yet accommodated, I knew then that this was not a body of derelict beneficiaries of charity. When people who have endured what they have endured organize schools before they build dining halls, when they pray for books before they ask for clothes, when they plead for a homeland and speak not at all of vengeance, such people are not the beneficiaries of charity. They are a brigade of free men united by a common memory, exalted by the aspiration to live again as a people. They know what they want. They told me. They told an American general who was sitting by my side. It was a young boy who told the general. He could not have been more than 15, but he knew what he wanted.
Thank you for the new shoes, General.
It's all right, son. How did your feet ever get in that condition?
From walking.
How far did you walk?
All the way from the Polish frontier.
Why did you cross the border illegally?
I wanted to enter the American zone.
Why?
You know why.
Would you like to question the lad, sir?
If I may, General. You want to stay in Germany?
No.
Where do you want to go?
It's written here on 2 pieces of paper. Here.
There's nothing here. These are only letters.
Yes, sir. One is a letter from a cousin in Chicago. It says, "My dear cousin, can I help you? Do you need food? Do you want money? Tell us how much and we will send it to you."
And the other letter?
It is from my sister in Tel Aviv. She doesn't ask if I need money. She says, "I am ready to receive you. All of Israel and Palestine is ready to receive you. Each night I cry and I pray to God you can come to us soon. We want you. This is your home."
Do you have any questions, General?
No. No questions.
They know what they want. They want to quit Europe. They want to live together, no longer dispersed among a population trained to persecute them and to tolerate them. They desire to live in the pattern of their own historic culture. In Germany and Austria and in Poland, that cultural civilization is dead. It was not only 6 million Jews who were slaughtered, it was Jewish scholarship. It was great academies of learning which once produced men of wisdom. It was Jewish music, the poetry and painting that enriched a civilization which has made payment with bone ground into fertilizer. They want to quit Europe. They want to go where they are wanted. And today, America is virtually the last hope for the realization of that intense, passionate yearning.
For 25 years, the governments of Great Britain have reaffirmed their pledges.
But for 25 years, we have been told the time is not right.
But we are ripe. We are so ripe with disappointment. We are so ripe with waiting and waiting and waiting that we want to cry out to God, "O Lord, how long? Save us for thy mercy's sake, for in death there is no remembrance of thee."
Understand us, please. We haven't given up. Every American president has encouraged us. We pray to God that these aren't just more words.
You do not know what prayer means until you have heard them pray. They stand in their displaced synagogues, yes, the displaced synagogues of the displaced persons, and they proclaim the words of Isaiah.
And it shall come to pass in that day that the remnant of Israel and they that are escaped of the house of Jacob shall no more stay upon him that smote them, but shall stay upon the Lord. The Lord hath founded Zion. and in her shall the afflicted of his people take refuge.
And when I hear them, and I still hear them, for the words are now sealed in my flesh, I want to say to the commissions and the statesmen and the unrepentant despoilers of their lives, I want to say, yea, thou shouldst not have gazed on their affliction in the day of their calamity, nor have laid hands on their substance. Neither shouldst thou have stood in the crossways to cut off those of his that escape. It is very difficult to be judicial and properly objective. They are men of passion, and they have learned to distrust the kind of objectivity which kindles no lamps, which lightens no darkness, which proffers only the doubtful consolation of future promise instead of present deed. They ask a question of the world. Is theirs only the extravagance of blind faith founded upon a lie? Someone must answer. And the answer is strange, for it comes from them, from the dispossessed. I saw this in Camp Deggendorf near the eastern frontier. You may consider it an answer.
Come this way, sir. Be careful of the timbers.
What are they doing, Captain?
I will let them tell you. David, put down your saw for a moment.
What is it, Captain?
There's a gentleman here who wants to know what you're doing.
We're building a store. After it's built, it will be stocked with food and clothing. We'll sell it.
Who is going to buy what you sell?
We buy it. We printed our currency. Not pfennigs, not marks. Our own currency in dollars and cents.
Where are you getting the clothing to sell?
The captain supplies it. He supplies it free.
I'm a little confused. If it's free, why do you sell it?
We don't want charity. Every man who does work is paid in camp currency. Only the things you work for are free.
Do you understand now, sir?
I'm beginning to. David, why are you doing this?
We're training ourselves for Palestine.
They are training themselves for Palestine through work. In Camp Deggendorf, there are 300 aged men among the displaced. Each young man who works and is paid deducts a percentage of his earnings for the aged. Social security for the dispossessed by the dispossessed. They are training themselves. They are training themselves to see again and to work again and to be normal men and women again. They are providing and answer. In Camp Landsberg, I met Jacob Kleisky. He is also an answer.
Jacob, where did you find that lathe?
I didn't find it, Colonel. I made it.
From what?
Scrap. A few parts from this, a few parts from that.
Now that you have the lathe, what are you going to do with it?
I'm going to teach the men how to operate it. We'll build other lathes the same way. We're going to start an auto repair shop, a clothing factory, a radio plant. What we don't have in the way of tools, we'll find. What we don't find, we'll borrow. What we can't borrow, we'll make ourselves.
What's all this for, Jacob?
We're training ourselves for Palestine.
The words are not spoken idly. This man, Jacob Kleisky, has organized a shoe factory, a factory for the manufacture of dentures, a newspaper plant. A full font of type in Hebrew characters was missing. He made the missing letters himself. There were some who could not read the newspaper when it was published. He organized them into classes and appointed teachers. Jacob Kleisky is training the survivors of Landsberg into men of skill and capacity. It is not a small thing. It is an answer. I was present when Jacob Kleisky and a delegation of displaced persons presented a gift to General McNarney.
You may not know what this is, General. It is a menorah. It is the light that is kindled in the synagogue before the tabernacle. We wanted to find some way to show the American army what we think of it. We were degraded when they came. Now we are not degraded. You are helping us to become free men with the privilege of looking after ourselves. Because of you, the barbed wire has come down. Because of you, we can stand in the synagogue and say, "In thee, O Lord, I have taken refuge. Let me never be ashamed." Please accept this menorah, General. We have made it ourselves out of scraps of cartridges and shell casing. Maybe that's significant. I hope so. Take it, General. Whatever is good and hopeful in us is in that.
General McNarney of the United States Army accepted a shell casing transformed by the labor of hope into a menorah. This is the symbol of 100,000 men and women in the displaced persons camps of Germany and Austria. They are people who are waiting. They are determined to reach Palestine or to die. They are sustained by only one hope: that tomorrow, the day of migration to Palestine, will be announced. In 15 minutes, they will be ready. In 10 minutes, they will be ready. They are ready now, at this moment, at this precise second. Defer that hope of migration, and the result is catastrophe and moral execution. They must be saved. They have made their decision, and they earned the right to make that decision by the drink offering of their blood. They are men and women exalted by the miracle of survival. And I am exalted because I have seen them.
Our script was based upon a report written by Judge Simon H. Rifkin, former civilian advisor on Jewish affairs to the Commanding General of the United States Forces in the European Theater. If you would like a free copy of the script, write to The Eternal Light, 3080 Broadway, New York 27, New York. Eternal Light is written by Morton Wishengrad. The music is composed by Morris Momorsky and conducted by Milton Catons. The narrator was Raymond Edward Johnson. Liturgical music was sung by Cantor David Putterman. The entire production was under the direction of Frank Papp. This is NBC, the National Broadcasting Company.
Spake unto Moses, saying, Command the children of Israel that they bring unto thee pure oil olive, beaten for the light, to cause the lamps to burn continually in the tabernacle of the congregation. And it shall be a statute forever in your generation. The Eternal Light
National Broadcasting Company and its affiliated independent stations present The Eternal Light. This program comes to you under the auspices of the Jewish Theological Seminary of America. Today's play, adapted for radio by Milton Wayne, is based on a story entitled The Wise Men of Chelm, written by Dr. Solomon Simon. Roger de Koven is the narrator.
Once on the large maps of the world there was marked a small town, the town of Chelm, for which fact let us be thankful, for if the city of Chelm and its inhabitants had never existed, surely for the high esteem in which we hold ourselves, someone would have had to invent it. And the time taken for such invention might have deprived the world of such phrases as double-entry bookkeeping, the can opener, or even perhaps radio itself. But fortunately for us, the town of Chelm once did exist, and its citizens were known throughout all the civilized world as the Wise Men of Chelm.
The Wise Men of Chelm? Sure, I've heard of them. But some people say that the Wise Men of Chelm are fools.
Don't you believe it? Not for a minute. They're no fools. It's just that foolish things are always happening to them, as we shall see.
Hermites, after 7 days and 7 nights of uninterrupted thinking, we have come to a decision. No longer will we suffer a cold, bitter winter with no firewood to warm our homes.
Oh, that's wonderful. No, you're here, Helmites. A way has been found. New Gimple, tell us at once, what is the plan?
This very spring, we shall build a high brick wall all around the town. And when winter comes, it will keep out the cold.
A brilliant plan. It dazzles like a diamond in the sunlight.
Amazing. No longer need any Helmite fear the thieves will pick the lock on his door and steal his goods.
True. On the 7th night of the 7th day of discussion, we have found a plan.
All Helmites will remove their doors and carry them about on their backs. Thus no thief will be able to break the lock and enter.
The little town of Chelm lay deep in the forests of Poland, quite hidden from all the world. The men who lived there had long beards and curly side locks around their ears. They wore long, shiny black coats that reached to their ankles and striped prayer shawls with thick fringes, just like Jews all over that part of the world at that time, except that there was something peculiar about the worthy citizens of Chelm, something odd about the way they did things. Truth to tell, they weren't really quite like other people.
There's nothing much to ponder about. They're fools, just plain fools. But what is truly remarkable is how so many fools all came together in one little town.
And therein, too, lie several tales. But the most authentic concerns a very minor angel known as Michael the Messenger.
It's my fault that it happened many, many years ago. I was carrying a sack full of foolish souls back to heaven for repairs, and I lost my way in a terrible storm, and I flew over Chelm. The town, as you know, lies in a valley completely surrounded by high mountains. Well, on the topmost peak of the highest mountain stood a tall, pointed tree. Suddenly, as I struggled through the storm, the bottom of the sack caught and tore on the treetop. And alas, all the poor, damaged souls spilled out of the ripped sack, rolled down the mountainside into Chelm. And there they stayed from that day on.
Now it is written in the town records of Chelm that the citizens built a mill on top of a mountain where there was no water. And when they found the mill did not work for some mysterious reason, they dismantled the mill. Thus, the Chelmites lost their opportunity to become wealthy, and instead became poor as blind beggars. And one day, little Beryl the beetle leaned against an empty herring barrel in the town square and poured forth his misery to Gimple, the town's leading citizen.
The Almighty has forgotten us, Gimple. It's just as if we didn't exist.
You're a fool, Beryl. Isn't it well known that God provides the weaver with thread and the beggar with bread?
But all we have is potatoes. Sunday and Monday, potatoes. And on Tuesday and Wednesday, more potatoes. On Thursday and Friday, you eat potatoes again.
Ah, but on the Sabbath.
Then, for a change, we eat potato pudding. For weeks, I've been dreaming.
Of what?
Of the same thing you and all Chelmites dream. Of a piece of herring.
A piece of herring and a slab of fresh black bread.
Stop, Dimple. Please stop.
We shall have it, Beetle.
Gimple, tell me, are you ill?
The people of Chelm shall have herring.
Please, Gimple, come out of the sun. Lie down.
Stop pulling at me. Run to Mottle the mayor.
Please, I'm too hungry to run.
Tell him to call a town meeting at once. Tell him I have a plan. Chelmites, I have a plan. Let's buy 5 barrels of salted red herring and 5 barrels of salted white herring. Then we'll dump the herring into the Chelm River so that they can increase and multiply as do all God's creatures.
A marvelous idea, marvelous! Wait till you hear it all. Next year we'll hire some fishermen who'll catch as many herring as we want. But we'll be smart. We'll make sure to leave a few fish in the river to increase and multiply again. In this way, we can have herring forever.
An inspiration truly worthy of the foremost citizen of Chelm.
Such beautiful herring. It broke my heart to throw them into the river. The smell is driving me crazy. Gimple, how long must we wait for the increasing and multiplying?
Pena, the philosopher, has studied these matters. He says we're to wait a year and a day.
So long?
A year and a day from now, the fishermen will come with their nets. And every Chelmite will then have herring 3 times a day.
How can I stand it? A whole year and a day.
Muddlehead, what do you want?
I kept a record. It's a year and a day. I'm famished for a piece of herring. I couldn't sleep a wink. Come.
I know. Tomorrow, Beryl. We'll wait one more day for good measure. And tomorrow the fishermen will cast their nets. Quickly! Come in now, quickly! Throw in the net. Well, fishermen, let's see the catch.
Here, look.
What is it?
Nothing. A few bits of weed and a little mud. Nothing.
Throw out the nets again. The fish must be there.
An old torn boot. Nothing yet that would be very tasty with onions.
Throw the nets again.
Nothing.
The sun will soon be down. Hurry, throw the nets again.
Ho! We have something! Ho!
Quickly, haul it up on the beach. Stand back, everybody, stand back.
There it is. Take a look.
Heavenly Father, those tremendous claws.
We've dragged up a monster.
No, a lobster, the biggest we've ever caught. Gimple, what's the matter? You look as if you're going to burst.
Look, Chelmites, look there at your culprit. There is the teeth. Look closely at this ugly, unclean monster, gorged to bursting with the blood of our helpless Harry. Pinya, the philosopher, why should we wait?
Who ever heard of tearing a lobster apart? One speaks of tearing a herring apart, but never a lobster.
Then what shall we do with the thief?
How shall we punish it?
Yes, how shall we punish it?
Horrible is the crime.
Horrible.
And horrible shall be the punishment. What is more frightful death than drowning? In the time of Noah, when God decided to punish the whole wicked world, did he not send a flood upon it?
Yes, a terrible, terrible flood.
Therefore, let this fiendish glutton be drowned.
Pinya, the philosopher, in recognition of your wise verdict, you may have the honor of seizing the lobster and throwing it into the deepest part of the river.
Thank you. Careful, Pinya, it may bite. Thus do the Chelmites take revenge on the greedy murderer of their herring.
It was shortly after the Great Moon disaster, when the Chelmites attempted to capture that celestial body in a barrel, that they began to build their new synagogue. They worked with zeal, and in no time at all the walls were up, and there was the roof, its bright red shingles proudly gleaming in the sun. So far, so good. No quarrels, not even a cross word. That is sad to relate. Until it came to laying the floor. Then the fur began to fly. Helm was split in two, those in favor of smooth boards and those against. Never was there such a commotion in heaven.
This is Helm, not Chedlitz or some other town full of simpletons.
True, a most serious matter.
When the day of fasting, when Yom Kippur comes.
A most solemn day, most solemn.
On that day, Jews remove their shoes in the synagogue and pray in their stocking feet. Now, if the floorboards were not plain smooth, some Helmite might get a splinter in his foot. A splinter leads to a sore foot. A sore foot may cause one to fall and break his neck. Helmites, do you want a broken neck?
Who wants a broken neck? Listen, Helmites! Listen to me! True, there is some danger if the boards are not planed, but there is even greater peril if the boards are too smooth. For on Simchas Torah, which is a very joyous holiday...
A most joyous holiday. We finished reading the Torah and started again. Most joyous.
On that day, Jews dance in the synagogue with the Holy Torah in their arms. On a planed floor, they'd naturally slip and fall. Then all of Chelm would have to fast and mourn for 40 days and 40 nights because the Holy Torah had been dropped.
A calamity.
The matter was referred to a meeting of the town's leading minds, and for 7 days and 7 nights they thought about it and thought about it. And finally, on the 7th night of the 7th day, a Helmite solution was announced by Mottle the mayor.
The boards must indeed be smooth because the danger of splinters on Yom Kippur is great. But let only one side be planed. Then lay the smooth, plain side face downward with the rough side up, so that when the Helmites dance on Simchas Torah, they won't slip and fall with the Holy Torah in their arms.
And so it was done. The new synagogue was completed, and all Helm celebrated. They danced and sang, ate and drank, and only one person was sad, Mottle the mayor.
What's the matter, Mayor Model? Why the long face?
Oh, Beryl. The synagogue is too beautiful.
Too beautiful? You remind me of the bridegroom who complained that his bride was too pretty.
Gimple, did you hear what this fool just said?
What did I say that was bad?
Didn't it ever occur to you that the synagogue's so beautiful, it might be stolen?
Oh, of course. The mayor is right. The danger is very serious. Beryl, tomorrow morning, before anything else, take a brush and paint Ze Hashu Sheyoch Helm in huge letters on the front wall of the synagogue.
What do those words mean, Gimple?
This synagogue belongs to Helm.
Now, that's a brilliant idea, Gimple. Let them steal it now. What can they do with it? Wherever they take it, everyone will know that it's stolen goods.
Some years passed. Things were going well in Helm. The crops were plentiful and the bins were bursting with grain. Suddenly now there was too much of everything. The Helmites were worried.
Oh, we've never had this kind of a problem before.
Oh, something has to be done.
Let's call a town meeting.
For 7 days and 7 nights they thrashed the matter around, and Pinya the philosopher pondered and pondered. He took off his shoes and pondered some more, and no solution came forth but a small idea.
Whereas Helm never suffered from prosperity before the miller came to our town, and whereas we do suffer now, therefore let it be concluded that we demand an explanation from the miller.
Beryl, run and fetch the miller at once. Well, Miller, what is your answer to this charge?
Helmites, I have a suggestion. Why don't you go into business?
Business? What did you mean, business? What does it mean, this going into business?
Going into business means buying and selling.
Listen to him. If we buy something, naturally we need it for ourselves. So why should we sell it?
Well, buy things that you don't need.
Why should we buy things we don't need? Are you crazy? Are you from Shedlet?
Let me explain. Buy things you yourselves don't need and sell them to the farmers who pass through Helm.
Oh, so. Then how does it work?
Well, the idea is to buy cheap and sell dear. For example, you buy a pair of boots for 5 gulden and sell it for 6 gulden.
A gulden for nothing. Did you hear that?
One neither sows nor plows nor does anything, and yet one gets a gulden. Why? Well, that's the way business is done.
Well, then, if that's all there is to business, maybe we ought to try it.
Thus business came to Helm, and with it the rich got richer and the poor got worries. And as always happens, the poor came to be jealous of the rich, and the rich came to fear the poor. That was the way of the world, and even Helm was no exception. Even in the synagogue, the wealthy would be seated in their own pews at the east wall near the Holy Ark and the pulpit, while the poor would stand squeezed together at the rear near the stove and alongside the wash basin. Finally, one hot summer Sabbath, the long-suffering poor stopped the services and appealed to the rabbi.
We claim our ancient right to interrupt the services and to prevent the Torah reading until our wrongs are righted.
What are your wrongs, my people?
Rabbi, why do the rich live on milk and honey while we live on air?
Why do the rich wear Sabbath clothes on weekdays while we wear weekday clothes on the Sabbath?
Rabbi, there is no justice in hell.
True, my children. There is no justice in hell. But it must be somewhere. For does not the Torah say, justice, justice, let us pursue? It must have slipped away to some other place while we were doing business. Let us therefore send 2 messengers out into the world to pursue justice
and bring it back to Helm. Enough for rich and poor alike.
And so the two messengers set out into the world to pursue justice. Wherever they went, they would ask,
"Good people, can you tell us where to buy a little justice?"
And everywhere they were given the same reply.
No use looking. We, too, lack that little item. If we knew where to get some, we'd sell the shirts off our backs.
The Helmites rode on. They rode and rode until they came to Warsaw. There a pair of sharp rogues caught sight of the country yokels and approached them.
Friends, how would you like to get a fine bargain? We can sell you the Vistula Bridge cheap or the Saxony Gardens. Or perhaps you're interested in the Warsaw Synagogue.
No, good folks. We don't want the bridge or the gardens. And as for the synagogue, we have a fine new one of our own in Chelm.
Oh, so you're from Chelm?
Yes, we're Chelmites.
And what is it then that two such wise men from Chelm seek in Warsaw?
Justice is what we seek. We've traveled far and wide and cannot find a crumb of justice to save our lives.
Look no further, Helmites. Your search is ended. We can sell you as much justice as you want.
Can you sell us a whole barrel full?
Well, justice, as you know, is a very expensive article. But if you can afford it, we'll manage to get you a barrel full.
Will 2,000 gold pieces be enough? Is that all you have?
That's every kopeck.
Then it'll have to do. After all, we can't let you go back to Helm without justice. Come with us. Here it is. Your barrel full of justice.
Thank you.
Make sure not to jostle the barrel on the way. The cover might fly off and some of the treasure might be spilled. And you know how hard it is to get justice these days.
You don't have to tell us that. Why, we'll carry it like a steaming bowl of delicious chicken soup.
The messengers finally returned, and there was great rejoicing in Helm. After elaborate ceremonies in the town square, Mottle the mayor broke the seals, loosened the nails, and pried open the barrel cover, while all of Helm crowded around, eager to see what the justice of the world looked like. As he lifted the cover, Mottle the mayor sprang back in horror.
It smells of rotten fish. Alas, the justice is spoiled.
The justice of the world smells bad. Take heed, O you Helmites who complain of the justice of Helm. There, that's the kind of justice you have in the rest of the world.
Poor people of Helm, listen to me. If there is no justice in Helm, then even the justice of the world has been spoiled, and it doesn't matter what we do. We can take whatever we must.
They called a town meeting immediately, and there was talking and thinking and thinking and talking for 7 days and 7 nights. And at last they came to a brilliant compromise.
From this day on, whenever an ox is slaughtered, let the entire animal consist only of choicest parts. Let all parts be alike. Then there'll be no difference which part one buys. Likewise, let it be known to all that the entire synagogue is the east wall and the center pews. Then, to be sure, there will be no difference where a person sits. But since it happens that the rich may be foolish enough to wish to pay more in order to sit at the former east wall, likewise, since they may desire to pay more for the former fine cuts of meat, then let them be welcome to their foolishness.
And so it was done. Yes, in Helm times had changed, and everything was just as before.
For many years, the town of Chelm stood unique in the world. Then a terrible fire burned the synagogue and the town's dwellings to the ground, and the rabbi called his flock from their mourning.
My children, the Lord works in mysterious ways his wonders to perform. This is a sign from on high. Like the destruction of Jerusalem in ancient times, the destruction of Chelm is a sign that we must go out into the world and spread the wisdom that is our heritage and our tradition. Like our forefathers of old, let us go forth with courage in our hearts to fulfill our destiny.
Not with sorrow and not with tears, but proudly, the Chelmites went forth and dispersed over the face of the earth. They mingled with all the peoples of the world and dutifully spread the wisdom that was once the pride of Chelm alone. And so, dear listener, if you should sometimes discover a bit of the Chelmite in yourself, you'll know the reason why.
And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Command the children of Israel that they bring unto thee pure oil olive, beaten for the light, to cause the lamps to burn continually in the tabernacle of the congregation. And it shall be a statute forever in your generation.
The eternal light. The National Broadcasting Company and its affiliated independent stations present The Eternal Light. This program is brought to you under the auspices of the Jewish Theological Seminary of America. Our story today is Milton Wayne's folktale adaptation, The Wandering of the Little Melody. Featured as Reb Doodler, the narrator is Alexander Scourby.
The modest phrases you just heard, played and sung, introduce the modest hero of our story. For all stories, great or little, and no matter what they tell of, all stories have a hero. Our story, then, is no exception. Prayer, speaking in its own person, is the hero of our story. For the hero of our story is a melody. But stories need words, even if only a few. And since our hero is wordless, I, your humble servant, Dudele, the red-bearded, Chassid in the city of Talna in the province of Kiev, I shall attempt to supply the words. To make a beginning, it was during the visit to my home of that pious man, Reb Athalie, a Polish Chassid.
To have pride in one's birth city is understandable, Reb Dudele.
Well, pride is also merited.
And what is there so remarkably special about the songs you sing here in the city of Talna?
Reb Athalie, my friend, you Hasidim of Poland are as wise and as pious as men anywhere in the world.
You do us much honor.
Yet it is a sad but demonstrable truth that you Polish Hasidim do not know how to sing.
So? Or might it be that the ears of Talna are not sensitive enough to capture our melodies?
Why should we quarrel with the world's judgment? Here in the province of Kiev, here is where they sing. Among us, there's not a house without a fiddle or a clarinet.
Yet to have a bird in a cage does not mean that the owner possesses the bird's song.
True. But you should hear the sounds that come from our town.
Sounds?
Sounds.
What sounds do you mean? Sounds of a good wife chopping fish in a wooden bowl? The sounds of the Rebbe blowing his nose in Cheder? The sounds of an old wagon on a frozen road? Do you mean those sounds?
Yes, if the sounds join into a melody. For just as separate stones are piled one on top of another and made into a house, so the melody is no longer a combination of sounds. It is now a living body with a soul, and the soul is the heart of man. His love, his anger, his grace, his pity, his mercy. And like all living things, a melody lives and dies and passes away from the world and is forgotten. But sometimes the melody that was thought dead comes to life again. The melody returns and awakens, and a new feeling, a new soul is put into it by him who sings or plays it, and he renews its youth. And thus the cycle goes on, over and over again. A new creation, a new melody. But enough of theorizing. There's a story that can speak much better than I. It is the story of the wandering of a melody. Now, in the city of Makhmovka, not far from Berdichev, there was a group of fine musicians.
But the best of all of us is that little man Chaim. He is a plain Jew with a wife and children and very poor. But he's really an excellent klezmer.
Good composer, I take it.
No, he's not a composer. That is, he can't create new tunes. But he has a very great special talent. Very great.
And in what does this great talent lie?
In stories, in explaining a melody. Actually, he takes a melody and translates it into the human tongue. He has such a talent that it frightens me. Look at him there, how small and frail he is. But when he puts the clarinet to his lips, he's a different man. His long eyebrows straighten, his eyes glisten, his face shines. You begin to feel that he himself is not here, that his soul has gone up to heaven.
But when he comes back to earth, what does he do?
He waits.
Oh? What for?
For a wedding of a rich couple. And on that expectation, he lives on credit.
And after such a rich wedding?
He pays all his bills and goes on living on credit.
Chaim?
A pair of shoes, please, Reb Moshe.
On credit.
Only a very small pair for my youngest. On credit.
And what are you waiting for these days?
Didn't you hear? A wedding which will take place, with the help of God, in the home of the widow of Beryl Katzner.
Beryl's widow? So soon?
No, the daughter, Hannah. It would be a very big wedding.
Why not? That heart of stone left almost $500,000.
More than $500,000, they say.
So more than $500,000.
And all his life he begrudged even the piece of bread he ate and the water he drank. He lived poor and was buried rich. He'd stand up in his grave if he knew they were spending his money for a wedding.
I haven't been home all day. The shoes, Reb Moshe.
The shoes. Oh, yes. You may have the shoes on credit.
Thank you.
And for such a rich wedding, perhaps even a new pair of shoes for yourself, Reb Chaim.
Esther, please don't cry. Look, 2 pairs of shoes I got for Moshe. 1 pair for the child and 1 for you. Look, Esther.
You must take them back. We can't have them.
But why not? What happened?
That's Velvel.
Velvel? What is there to ask Velvel?
I just heard.
Oh, Velvel. I didn't see you when I came in. What did you hear?
The bad news.
What bad news? Tell me what.
Believe me, it was like thunder struck me when I heard.
What? What did you hear?
We are not going to play at the wedding.
Oh?
The widow Katzner is hiring Yossel from Berdice.
Oh. Yossel is a good musician. He was once my teacher, but why should they send for him when we're already here?
Because she says people are coming to the wedding from the big city of Kiev. And besides...
Well, what else is there? Tell me, what else?
Your clarinet and my fiddle aren't enough. Because Yossel has promised, especially for the wedding, to write a new melody.
When they heard the news, it was like thunder struck every person in that little town. For everyone loved Reb Chaim, and they were all proud of his playing. Like a storm, they descended upon the house of the widow Katzner, and for hours they protested the injustice to Reb Chaim. To all of them.
This must be settled. Now, once and for all, this must be settled.
Please, I'm a poor widow, alone in this world. Why do you begrudge me the joy of seeing my only daughter married?
We all wish you long life and happiness. But why did you hire Yossel from Berdichev instead of our own Reb Chaim?
I told you, Reb Labe, the guests coming from Kiev.
Our Reb Chaim would not put you to shame if your guests came from Vienna or Budapest or London even.
But look, I have told you before. Reb Chaim is as dear to me as my own brother would be. But he can't compose a tune.
1,000 tunes he has in his clarinet, and she needs still a new one.
Not for myself, but for my husband. May he rest in peace.
May he rest in peace. But you still don't understand.
It's for his memory that Yossel promised to write a new tune for the prayer in memory of the dead, El Mole Rachamim, Father of compassion and mercy.
But it isn't a question of a choice, a new tune or Reb Chaim. You can have both.
Both? How? How can I have both?
Reb Chaim will go to Berdichev, to this same Yossel who used to be his teacher. And he will ask Yossel for a new tune. And he will bring it back here to be chanted at the wedding. Good. As we all know, Reb Chaim is a very poor man. Now, if you give him the money for the journey, he will go.
So I will give him the money.
so Reb Chaim went to Berdichev. But nothing comes easy to the poor. Otherwise, perhaps, there would be no poor. And when Reb Chaim arrived in Berdichev, he found that Yossel had just left to play in the city of Talna. Now, what could he do? He couldn't return home without a melody, for he promised on his word of honor to bring back one of Yossel's. And to go on to Talna was impossible, for he'd given most of the travel money to his wife. And so Reb Chaim walked sadly about the streets of Berdichev.
And so, Reb Chaim, what happened then?
Huh? What, Velvel?
I said, what happened then?
Oh, forgive me. Where was I?
You were walking about the streets of Berdichev.
Oh, yes. And there, suddenly I saw a woman. She was dressed in the beautiful clothes of the Sabbath. And in her hand she carried a large silver plate. Behind the woman came a procession of musicians. And the woman sang to the tune the musicians played.
And the silver plate, what was that for?
But to catch the coins the people were throwing.
Oh.
Every time she caught a coin, she cried, Mazel tov, Mazel tov. For this was a collection for a poor girl of the town who wanted to get married, but didn't have the money for a wedding.
It was a good deed.
They are good people.
But the melody you were supposed to get from Yossel, where is it?
Here, in my head.
But where did you get it?
That Mazel tov melody the woman sang and the musicians played, that was one of Reb Yossel's. When I heard it, my eyes began to glow like hot coals. Hand me your fiddle. I'll show you. A melody like I'd never heard in my life. Laughs and cries in one breath. Pain, joy, fear, and hope. The pouring out of the soul. Everything in the same melody. And so it goes on. We'll have it ready for the wedding tomorrow night. Well, what do you think?
It is everything you have said, but it's not what the widow wants.
Why not?
It's too happy. She wants a tune for the cantor to sing at the ceremony in memory of her husband.
That's no reason for worry, Velvet. The widow will have her tune.
So Reb Chaim took his clarinet and went off by himself. He played through the Mazel Tov tune a few times, and then the melody, which is the hero of this story, began to change. It changed into a plea to the Father of compassion and mercy. The happy melody changed and became one of short and deep sighs, of a man confessing the sins of all his life, beating his breast over every sin and entrusting his soul to the Lord of hosts. Finally, the melody became a consolation. There is a God on earth, a living and a kind God. He hath given and he hath taken. Blessed be his name. That night at the wedding, Reb Chaim played the melody on his clarinet. And the guests who came from Kiev to the marriage of the daughter of the widow Katzner had tears in their eyes, but no praise for the musician.
For whom, Reb Chaim? For whom was such a beautiful melody?
For Beryl Katzner, of course. May he rest in peace.
A golden melody for old Beryl the miser.
If he were here at the wedding, do you think his daughter would be wearing silks and jewels? Play another tune so we can all dance.
The widow sent me all the way to Bedice for this one. It's not necessary to play any other.
But we want to dance now. Do you understand?
I understand. Selvin, I'll start, then you join in.
And as was the custom, the beggars of the town, the poor, the crippled, and the blind, came to the wedding and mingled with the guests from Kiev. The beggars ate and drank and danced, and sadly shared in a joy that was not their own. And among these guests was a stranger to the town, a young and pretty child, small and thin and pale-faced. She ate little and spoke to no one, for she was very shy. She sat in a corner near the two musicians, and with her ears, her eyes, her whole being, she drank in the melody Reb Chaim was playing. And when, late in the wedding, Reb Chaim looked for her, she was gone.
Velvo, where is she? Where did she go?
Who?
That little girl with the hunger in her eyes. She sat over there in the corner.
The one that came with the beggars?
Just a child. Who is she?
Reb Shmuel said he saw her with a gypsy circus in Bedice. The scoundrels must have stolen her, and then they abandoned her.
Pity. Perhaps she will come back. Perhaps the widow Katzner will take her into her house. We must find her.
It would be a great good deed.
Come, musicians, play. We want to dance.
Are you ready, Velvo?
But that evening, the young girl left the town of Makhmovka and wandered on the road to the next town, and through the towns after that one. She was too shy to ask for alms, so she ate whatever she could find in the fields, and there, too, she slept. Until one day...
But where did she come from? Who is she?
I heard a knock on our door, and a pitiful voice, singing weakly. When I opened the door, she was lying there in a faint and burning with fever.
But who is she?
The poor child is half-starved. What could I do but take her in?
To whom can the poor turn except to others who are poor?
She's probably an orphan. More is the pity on her. Well, Jacob.
Until she gets well, we must give her a bed.
Yes, Jacob. Until she gets well.
After many days, the girl got up from the sick bed and left the home of Rezla and Jacob. She went on her way, begging for a piece of bread. She was shy and didn't speak, but stretched out her hand and sang the melody she remembered, the melody Reb Chaim played at the wedding in Makhmovka. And now, the melody was a plea.
The bad people stole me, it said, and have broken my life. Please have pity on a poor orphan. Please have mercy. She wandered on thus for many days and many miles, and she came to a town where there was a very learned scholar who sat all day and studied the word and the law of God. He never went out of his house so that he would lose no time from his study. And once the girl came to his house. She knocked softly on the door and sang her melody, asking for a piece of bread. But the learned man refused to go to the door, for he would be stealing time from his study. He put his hands over his ears. But the song crept under his fingers. Then he could stand it no longer. He rose and flung open the window.
Get away, shameless one! Get away from this house!
The girl went on her way, and the scholar returned to his book. But now there was something that came between him and his book. A melody pulled his eyes from the page and his mind from the words he sought so hard to study.
David, what shall I do?
You must forget that beggar girl. Forget her song.
Haven't I tried and tried, but it keeps ringing in my ears by day and by night.
But more than a week has gone by now.
Time alone will not wash out the sin I've committed. For I've been uncharitable toward a fellow being.
Then come to the synagogue this Sabbath. The illustrious Reb Doubleday arrived here this morning. He asked that you come and sing for him. Perhaps then you will be whole again.
I have no voice or heart to sing. And even if this were the Day of Atonement, my sin would not be removed. For only sins against God are forgiven. Sins against man are not forgiven unless the one offended has first been reconciled. All my study has been barren, for it was only for myself. And if I am only for myself, what am I? Now I must leave this house.
But please, Reb Doubleday has asked for you.
When I have found that girl, when I have brought her back to her home in kindness, then I shall return to the synagogue, and I shall sing.
Three Sabbaths passed, and on the fourth, the scholar returned to the synagogue. There he stood before the pious of the town at the time of the third meal of the Sabbath, and he sang a new melody. He sang the melody of the orphan girl. Those who listened felt their hearts grow warm. From that moment, the melody became their own. And thus, after long wandering, the little melody, which is the hero of this story, returned once again to the holiness in which it was born.
Today's radio play was a folktale adaptation written by Milton Wayne. The music was composed by Morris Momorsky and conducted by Milton Cadens. Cantor David Potterman sang the liturgical music. The role of Reb Doubleday, the narrator, was played by Alexander Scourby and Reb Heim by Joe DeSantis. The entire production was under the direction of Frank Papp. This program is a weekly presentation of the National Broadcasting Company and its independent affiliated stations and comes to you under the auspices of the Jewish Theological Seminary of America. This is NBC, the National Broadcasting Company.
And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Command the children of Israel that they bring unto thee pure oil olive, beaten for the light, to cause the lamps to burn continually in the tabernacle of the congregation. And it shall be a statute forever in your generations. The eternal light. The National Broadcasting Company and its affiliated independent stations present The Eternal Light. This program comes to you under the auspices of the Jewish Theological Seminary of America. Today's play, adapted for radio by Virginia Wells, is based on the novel Job by Joseph Roth. It features Roger Coben and Bryna Rayburn. I, Mendel Singer, am sitting alone, my Bible open at the book of Job. It is too dark to see the words. It does not matter, I know them. I know them, Job, because you are Mendel Singer, and I am you. You, Job, and I, Mendel Singer, we understand each other. We know what it is to be a man. We have cursed God who imprisoned us in this flesh. And at the end of our days, as a shock of corn comes in season, we have accepted our manhood. He who is father to the raindrop as well as to the whirlwind has brought us to rest. Now I can say it. I am glad I suffered. For how can one feel the wonder of the sunlight unless he has felt also the terror of the dark? No, I'm no philosopher. I'm an ordinary, commonplace man, born to suffer as the sparks fly upward. You who listen, you suffer too. And one day you will come to understand it. Then the book of Job will be your book, just as it is mine. There would be more. Then, I remember it was a Friday. I came into the kitchen for the noonday meal. Yellow as melted sunlight, the floor gleamed in preparation for the Sabbath. Scrubbed and quiet also, my sons waited for their soup. Deborah was at the stove. She turned ladle in hand. She might have been asking me to bring a candle or close the door, except there was something in her voice.
Mendel, the cradle, one of the rockers is broken.
The cradle?
I brought it from the storeroom today. There's no doubt the rocker is broken.
The cradle?
It will have to be mended.
Deborah, you say...
It will have to be mended unless we are so rich all at once we can afford a new one.
Deborah. Deborah.
Oh, the children, Mendel.
The cradle buries it. I'll mend it now.
While the soup grows cold? No, there's time yet. Jonas, Shamaria, come eat.
That's the way.
Yes, Mendel.
Deborah, you are an inhabitant of Lebanon. Thou art nestled in the cedars. How gracious shalt thou be when pangs come upon thee. The pangs of a woman in travail.
Mendel, I have a very learned husband, haven't I? But he lets the soup grow cold. Come, let's eat.
Deborah's time came on a hot midsummer afternoon. The clock stood still while I waited, listened, and my heart raced. Then above the silence of the clock and the racing of my heart, the most beautiful sound in the world. A boy or girl, Anna Berkovich?
A boy, Mendel.
You're the best midwife in Russia. Let me see him. Let me see my son.
Mendel, the child...
I want to see him. Anna, I tell you I want to see my son.
Very well. Take him. Look at him.
No.
God have pity on you, Mendel Singer.
There are scars a man carries with him all his life. It was not a normal baby the midwife put into my arms. An enormous head, a broad brow crisscrossed with wrinkles, two lifeless legs, like two wooden bows. Menuchim, my son.
Mendel, Deborah, she does not know yet.
She's sleeping. Look, Anna. We'll let her be happy a little longer. When I told her, she did not cry. That was worse than many tears. For tears are a language. They say, comfort me. But where there are no tears, there is no comfort, no communication. I could not reach her. Dry-eyed, like a stone she was.
Mendel, the neighbors. Keep them away. Don't let them see him. I cannot bear their pity. Yet.
For a week we hid our son. But on the 8th day we could hide him no longer. Menuchim, son of Mendel, must be circumcised. The guests came full of talk and congratulations. Then I brought in the child and placed him in his godfather's arms. If we had feared their pity, this was worse. They pretended not to see him. All through the ceremony, they did not look at him at all. Baruch habo, blessed is he who cometh. And a voice declared,
And Abraham circumcised his son Isaac when he was 8 days old, as God had commanded him. O give thanks unto the Lord, for he is good, for his mercy endureth forever. This little child Menuchim may become great.
And every word spoken was a knife. How can I tell you? Some of you will know. Others of you suffer in another way. At 2, he was still a shapeless bundle of misfortune. He could not sit alone. He could not speak. He could only look at us with his suffering old man's face. When you love someone, it is as if you had 2 skins. I think I felt Deborah's sorrow as much as my own. I used to come into the kitchen and find her crooning to him. was the same song, an old tune her mother had sung to her. One day when she was singing to him, something happened. The skinny arms began to wave. His head rolled from side to side. And just for a moment, there was almost a smile on his old man's face.
Mendel.
I saw.
It was the singing. He liked the singing.
Try again. Smile. Smile, little Menuhin. Smile for your mother.
He did not smile again, but we kept on hoping. I don't know how, but somewhere among all the other things a woman has to do, Deborah found a moment every day to sing to Menuhin. Menuhin's song, we called it. So the years passed, and we had grown almost accustomed to our sorrow. Jonas and Shemaria were growing up. Jonas, thin and dark, with a face like a flame. Shemaria, fair and round and sunny as a pumpkin. Good sons, both of them. Then came our second trouble. Without warning, they were called up for military service. Just before the high holy days, they journeyed to Targi for their physical examinations. Deborah and I waited at home.
Mendel, they won't take them. Not when they see them. They are children.
Only to us, Deborah.
Mendel, don't just sit there staring at nothing. Think what it would mean to lose both our sons.
I am thinking. If out of their going any good should come, if even one man were better off or happier for it, I could bear it. But to give them to the army of the Tsar, an army of oppression.
And for 25 years. Do you realize the term of service is for 25 years?
Even 1 year, 1 hour is too long to serve injustice. To see my own sons wearing the uniform that people hate and fear, it's too much.
If only...
What?
They shouldn't pass the physical examination. Red Schoenig's son has one finger missing. They turned him down for that.
But Jonas, Shemaria...
If only there was some small thing wrong. One doesn't really need 10 fingers.
Thus, we waited for 3 days for the return of our sons from Targi. On the evening of the third day, suddenly they stood in the kitchen doorway. I looked at them, and for the first time I knew my sons were boys no longer, but men.
Jonas, Shemaria, tell us.
We have been taken, Mother. Both of us. That's all. We've been taken. On Saturday, we leave for maneuvers.
No.
Well, those are our orders.
This cannot happen to us.
It has happened.
What have we done that the Tsar should take both our sons? Mendel, do something. Don't just sit. Go, run, ask.
Run where? Ask who?
Under the straw mattress, there's 23 rubles. I was saving it for Menuhin, but it's enough to buy a passport.
Passport?
In Knutsk, there's a man who supplies them. He's in right with the authorities.
How do you know these things?
Mothers have ways of knowing.
But for money to save to buy one passport, we have 2 sons.
I do not mind the army. No, Jonas. I tell you, I do not mind. Father, make him go.
Only a Solomon could say what to do. Let us ask God's help and be punished.
Mendel, wake up. He's gone. Jonas is gone.
And he's left the money on the table.
Then, it's God's will that Shemaria have the passport and get out of Russia.
Jonas, my firstborn, gone.
Gone. For 25 years, the army of the Tsar.
And we did not even say goodbye to him.
What is it that people can say to one another, Deborah? When they part, perhaps for life.
Same day, Shamaria left too. Shamaria, our second-born, stealing away like a thief to Glut and the passport that would take him out of Russia. Away from us forever. When he had gone, Deborah and I sat for a little while together. Just sat. Then suddenly she rose. It's a wonderful thing to be a woman. Threw her shawl about her head and took down her market basket.
You will look after the Nuchum Mendel while I'm gone?
Deborah, you're not going to market today.
One has to eat.
She was gone, and Menachem and I were alone. Menachem propped up on pillows, staring at me with his troubled old man's face. Menachem, the only son that was left to us. God forgive me, but I could not bear to look at him now. I turned away, and as I turned, he made a faint, small sound. Menachem. Menachem. Are you calling me? You trying to speak? Oh, Menachem, my son, talk to me. Say something. I'm all alone now. Your brothers have gone away. You're my youngest son. Speak to me. Just a few words. I'll sit beside you. Be your teacher. I've taught other men's sons. Why not you? Say the words after me. Bereshit bara Elohim es hashamayim v'ha'oreh. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. Say it. Say it, Menachem. Bereshit bara Elohim. Bereshit bara Elohim. Say it with me. Bereshit bara Elohim. Let's teach you, Menachem. Say it. You are all that's left to me now. I don't know how many times I said the words. My voice grew hoarse, sank to a whisper. Evening came in at the window. The child's head rolled over against the pillow, his heavy eyelids closed. Menachem was asleep, and there was no use. That night, for the first time in my life, I tried to pray and could not. God was too far away. What did he know of Mendel's finger and his troubles? I lay on the straw mattress on the floor and tossed from side to side, and suddenly I thought of you, Joe. You knew what it was to be a man. Better than anyone, you had said it. Man who is born of woman is a few years and full of trouble. He cometh forth like a flower and is cut down. He fleeth like a shadow and continueth not. The waters wear the stones. Thou washest away the things which grow out of the dust of the earth, and thou destroyest the hope of man. His sons come to honor, and he knoweth it not. They are brought low, but he perceiveth it not of them. But his flesh upon him shall have pain, and his soul within him shall mourn. Now that we had lost our sons, nothing worse could happen to us. 12 months make a year. From time to time, Jonas sent a greeting. He served in Pakov with the army. But from Shemariel we heard nothing. A wind had blown him away, we knew not where. Then one day a postcard came. It showed a sky bluer than the sky we had ever seen, and an ocean bluer than the sky. And in the ocean were thousands and thousands of people, more than now a whole province. On the back was written in Shemariel's handwriting, Dear Father and Mother, I arrived here 3 months ago.
Here? Where is here, Mendel?
I don't know. The postmark is blurred. I'll read on. I have a job. I sew buttons on pants. Then I iron the pants. Soon I will learn to sew the lining and the sleeves. Then I will be almost a tailor. Today is a holiday, the 4th of July. I'm writing this from Coney Island.
Coney Island? Is that a country?
No. No, it's not a country.
What then? Where is our Shemalia?
You will ask the rabbi. He's very learned. Maybe he knows Coney Island. From the rabbi, we learned that Coney Island was in New York. New York. That we knew. Our Shemalia was in America. 3 months later, another postcard came. Dear Mother and Father, I'm sending you the Statue of Liberty. I sew in the linings now.
So soon?
Soon I will be a tailor and can send you money. And you can come here, too.
Come to America? Leave Lukna?
Never. It was almost a year before we heard from Shemalia again. This time it was a letter. As I opened it, 3 pieces of paper fell out, green with spread eagles printed on them.
Mendel, it's money. He's a good son. Read what he says.
Yes. I waited to write until I had the money for your ticket.
Ticket?
I want you to come to New York. I work for a tailor in a shop on Essex Street. I can find jobs for you.
Oh, the boy is crazy.
If we all work hard and save our money, soon we can have a tailor shop for our own. That way we can get the money to send Nuchin to the best hospital in Russia. I have not forgotten it was the Nuchin's money that Mother gave me for the passport.
He remembered. After all this time, he remembered.
When he is cured, we can bring him to America to live with us.
Bring him? But he'll go with us.
Oh, who's going? Deborah, you're not thinking of going.
To get Menuchim cured, I would go anywhere. But haven't they doctors in America? Why? Why can't we take him?
Wait, he tells us why here. I know you will hate to leave Menuchim behind, but people who are sick like him are not allowed to enter the country. It'll only be for a little while anyway if we work hard. Aunt Sarah would look after him, I know, until we can afford to put him in a hospital.
He has thought of everything, Mendel. He is a good son. I will ask Sarah.
Deborah, I mean, you're serious? You would go?
How else could we ever get the money from Menuchim? Think of it, Mendel. Well, like other children.
To leave him behind. It's a long, long way to America.
I know, but think of him well. I'll go now and speak to Sarah about leaving him with her. Tomorrow I will find out about how to get our passports and our steamship tickets. What is it, Mendel? You are sad.
Why must it always be so hard?
What's so hard?
To be a human being.
Is there something else you'd rather be?
Today's Eternal Light play, adapted for radio by Virginia Wells, was part 1 of a special 2-part series based on the book Job by Joseph Roth, published by the Viking Press. Listen next week to the second and concluding chapter of this series. The music for our program today was composed and conducted by Morris Momorsky. Liturgical music was sung by Cantor Robert H. Siegel. The role of Job was played by Roger DeKoven, and Deborah was played by Bryna Rayburn. The entire production was under the direction of Frank Patton. And now we present a brief talk by Dr. Samuel Blumenfield of the College of Jewish Studies in Chicago, Illinois. Dr. Blumenfield speaks to you from Chicago.
Job has become the classic figure of untold suffering that goes hand in hand with vigorous protest and with the reaffirmation of faith in the goodness of life. Though he slay me, yet will I trust in him. This is the central motif of the book of Job in the Bible. And this is the theme of the novel Job, built around the life struggle of a Jewish family in modern times. In this morning's program, we have listened to the first part of the drama of our modern Job, calamities piling up upon calamities, followed by an outcry of despair and protest, which is to end with a triumph of Mendel's singers in the episode to come. From history and contemporary experience, we have learned that the story of Job is not limited to individuals alone, but is also to be found in the life of groups and peoples. As one traces the checkered history of the Jewish people, one finds the recurrent motif of endless tribulations, refusal to yield to adversity, and the triumph of faith in God and in man. In our days, the tragedy of Job is being reenacted in the vicissitudes of the Jews of Europe and Palestine. With the rise of Hitler, there came great misfortune to our people. Hardly had the Jews absorbed the shock of persecution and expulsion when the greatest calamity in the annals of human history befell Israel, the martyrdom of 6 million men, women, and children. As if this were not enough, the few who escaped are being kept even now, a year after the victory of the Allies, in detention camps, where they live as beggars and pariahs. And as if this were not enough, we read daily that those who tasted the horrors of gas chambers and crematoriums are being murdered in Poland and harassed in other lands of Europe. To climax it all, we have lived to see the rights of our people in the Jewish homeland Palestine trampled upon and violated. Out of the depths we cry, Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani, O my God, why hast thou forsaken us? But while we feel the sharp pain of wounds inflicted by friends and the shame of humiliations perpetrated by allies, we have the deep conviction that we are witnessing only the first episode, and that the tragedy of Israel will yet unfold itself into the drama of creative effort and the triumph of good over evil, of divine purpose over satanic machinations. Today, even as in the course of the many centuries, the Jew repeats with the psalmist, Lo amut ki ehyeh v'achaper ba'aseyah, I shall not die, but live to tell the glory of the Almighty.
Thank you, Dr. Blumenfield. This program is a weekly presentation of the National Broadcasting Company and its affiliated independent stations, and comes to you under the auspices of the Jewish Theological Seminary of America.
Spake unto Moses, saying, Command the children of Israel that they bring unto thee pure oil olive, beaten for the light, to cause the lamps to burn continually in the tabernacle of the congregation. And it shall be a statute forever in your generation.
The eternal light. The National Broadcasting Company and its affiliated independent stations present The Eternal Light. This program comes to you under the auspices of the Jewish Theological Seminary of America. Our story today, adapted for radio by Virginia Wells,
is the concluding installment of the two-part radio edition of Job, the novel by Joseph Roth, featuring Roger DeCoven and Bryna Rayburn.
Did you ever say goodbye to a child, even a well child, without a sudden tightness in the throat? Our son Menuchim was an invalid. We were leaving him, perhaps forever. He lay on the floor on his pallet, staring up at us with his old man's face. Menuchim the idiot. That's what the neighbors called him behind our backs. An idiot. How easy for them to say the word. But who but God could say what misery or terror lay locked in that speechless brain?
Mendel, he's afraid. I know he's afraid.
Oh, Deborah.
Menuchim, listen to your mother. It is for you we leave Russia. For you we go to America. There we can earn the money to get you well. What is America to us? Who do we know there except your brother Shamaria? It's a far country, a strange one. And yet we go. Because of you.
Deborah, the cart is waiting to take us to the train. We must go, Deborah.
Mendel, I can't leave him. I thought I could, but he looks at me so...
Deborah, remember once long ago when you sang the cradle song to him and he smiled?
The only time he ever smiled.
Sing it now.
I'll try. Hallelujah, hallelujah.
Smile,
Hallelujah.
Smile for your mother.
Oh, it's no use. He doesn't understand. He'll never be well. I know it. And I shall never see my son again.
So it was we left our home in Russia. How long ago it seems. I, Mendel Singer, am old now. And only now, when life is almost over, do I know what life means. I sit here in the darkness, my Bible open at the book of Job. It is too dark to read the words. It does not matter, I know them. I know them, Job, because you are Mendel Singer, and I am you. We were in America. Hundreds of people flowed about us. Hundreds of new sights and sounds and smells. America, it pressed down on us. It overwhelmed us. Even our son Shamaria seemed strange.
Samuel, Father. Call me Samuel. That's what they call me over here. Here is the subway. It'll take us to the tailor shop. Mr. Groshel's got a new steam pressing machine. He's buying it on the installment plan. Oh, America. It's a wonderful place.
So, you are Samuel's father and you his mother. A hard worker, Samuel, a bright boy.
Shemaria's a good boy.
He tells me you and your wife want jobs. What can you do?
I'm a teacher. I study the Talmud.
Good. You can operate the pressing machine.
Thank you.
And your wife?
Deborah, she's a very good cook.
Good. She can sew on buttons and base lining.
Looking back, I do not remember if we were unhappy that first year. There was no time to ask one's heart what it felt. It was only work.
it's good to sleep.
You're tired. It's too much, the cooking in the house and the work in the shop.
It is for Menuchim I work.
How much have we saved?
$91.58. And we've not been here even a year.
Perhaps in another year or two at most, there'll be enough to send him to the finest doctor in all of Russia. Another year went by. We took out our first papers. We worked hard. We kept our health, and if Jonas was in the Tsar's army and Menuchim was an invalid, was not Shamaria like three sons to us? One day he came to us.
Mother, Father, I want your blessing. Her name is Miriam.
My mother's name. God bless her.
And you, Shamaria.
You'll love her. She's good and she's pretty.
Bring her to see me.
Tomorrow. You'll have to teach her how to cook. Her mother's kreplach. I had some. She doesn't put enough filling in to fill a hollow tooth.
Now at last it seemed God had put forth his hand to bless us. There was almost enough money to send to Russia for Menuchim's treatment. Shamaria had chosen for his wife a girl whom we could love. His seed would be great, and his children as the grass of the earth to comfort our old age. The year was 1914. We stood on the threshold of our happiness. And then, like a wind from out of the wilderness, trouble blew across the water and found us out here in America. It was early in the morning. I was at my prayers. Give thanks to his holy name, for his anger is but for a moment, his favor is for a lifetime. Weeping may tarry for the night, but joy cometh in the morning.
Extra, extra! Germany declares war on Russia. Russian troops march the border. Extra, extra!
Uncle, what is it? What is all the noise? What is he saying?
Read all about it.
He's saying war.
War? What war? Where?
Russia. Russia has been attacked.
Russia? But Menuchim and Jonas, they... Oh, God, where are my sons?
There was no one to answer Deborah's question. No word came out of Russia. It was a void, a silence. And we waited, living two lives. One where the war was, one here. I don't know how, but we kept on working. I was at the pressing machine when Shamaria told me.
Father, where is she? Mother?
In the back sewing linings. Is it Menuchim?
Jonas, I heard through the Red Cross.
Dead?
Yes, Father.
Blessed be the righteous judge.
You'll tell her?
Yes. I'll tell her. Doctor, will she be all right?
I've given her a sedative. She's resting.
But there's nothing really wrong, is there, Doctor?
It's her heart, Mr. Singer. It's tired. She's worked too hard, too long. Then this shock.
But she will get well. She won't.
She'll get better. But she can't stand any more strain. Remember that. Don't let her worry. Keep her happy.
Yes, Doctor, how? How could I keep her happy? I was a leaf driven to and fro, and the world was a land of darkness, as darkness itself, and of the shadow of death without any order. She could work no longer. Whatever hopes we had now were all in Shamaria. And then suddenly we woke up one day and the war was here on Essex Street, and Shamaria was saying to me,
Father, Manny's gone, and Joe and Saul, almost everybody on Essex Street but me. I feel so funny about it.
I've been waiting for this.
Tell me what to do, Father.
I can't tell you what to do, Shamari. I can only tell you what is right. A good Jew is duty-bound to go to war when his country fights for right and justice. America is your country now. She took you in, gave you work, the right to live in peace. Now that right is threatened. To defend it is a duty. Cowardice is shameful. And death, if it comes, necessary.
You are saying I should go. But, Mother, what will she say? How will she feel?
Like any mother. We moved Deborah's chair to the window so she could see him march down the street. The school children made a parade for him, and Miriam ran along the sidewalk holding a penny flag and waving to him. Then he turned the corner.
He's gone. But he will come back. Say you believe it, Mendel. Say he will.
He'll come back, Deborah. I lied to her, God forgive me for it. I lied to her because even before it happened, I had dreamed the scene. I knew what was coming as though it had happened long ago, as though the pain of it had turned many years ago into grief. I knew even that it would be a winter evening, that snow would be quietly falling, that I would be sitting with Deborah pretending to read. I was waiting for the knock.
Go, Mendel. Perhaps it is Miriam with a letter from Shamaria. Go. Why are you just standing there?
I'm going.
Mr. Singer?
Yes?
A telegram. Sign here.
Long ago, I had told her about Menuhin, that he was not like other children. I had told her about Jonas, too, that he was dead. I had told her about Shamaria when he knew he had to go to war. But I did not have to tell her this. She saw the telegram in my hand. She tried to speak, but no sound came from her. Then she sank back into a chair, a crumpled heap. Deborah. 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 Shall we receive good at the hand of God, and shall we not receive evil? You too, Job. You pondered that, sitting in the ashes of your house. We know what it is to be born a man. For 7 days after her passing, I mourned for Deborah. The neighbors came.
Poor man. What a sorrow. First his 2 sons, now his wife.
Wasn't there a third son back in Russia?
An idiot.
What happened to him?
Who knows? Dead, most likely. Look, it's beginning to snow again.
And while they spoke among themselves, I talked to Deborah. Oh, you were well off, Deborah. God had pity on you. You are dead and buried. Toward me he shows no pity, for I am dead, and yet I live. One morning I was wakened by a great noise. I went to the window.
Jenkins, what is it? What has happened? The war's over! My Joey will be coming home again!
And where were my sons? Where was Jonah, Shamaria? Where was Menuhin? For what did God punish Mendelsinger? Why not the others? Their sons were alive, would marry, bear children, while my remembrance would perish from the earth. Every morning since I was a boy of 13, my hands had spread over the prayer shawl, had unrolled the phylacteries and bound them about my head and arms. This morning, too, my hands obeyed the custom, but my lips would not. I began the prayer. Give thanks to his holy name, for his anger is but for a moment, his favor is for a lifetime. Weeping may tarry for the night, but joy cometh
No, it is not true. There is no joy. There is no mourning. I will not say it. I will not.
I hid my phylacteries in the bottom of the old black trunk I had brought from Russia. I would never pray again. God was my enemy now. It was good to see it. Every day while I worked at the tailor shop, under my breath, under the angry hiss of the pressing machine, I berated God. All my life I have obeyed you. And see how you treat me now. You call this justice. No, you care nothing for justice. You care only for your power. You command the sun and seal up the stars and spread out the heavens. But is that enough for you now? You must break Mendel's finger into little pieces and scatter him like chaff. That is how I spent my days. At night, I would go home to my empty room, to the ticking of the clock. Deborah, I'm alone. I'm all alone. So my years ticked away like the clock. I looked in the mirror one day and my hair was white. I was old and alone. Menuhin was dead. I knew it now, for no word had come out of Russia since the war. In all the world, there was no one who cared about Mendel's Singer. Then the last blow fell.
Mendel, I hate to tell you this, but...
Yes, Grashel?
The shop. It is too much for me now. I have sold it.
Sold the shop?
I spoke to the new owner about you.
Yes?
He'll not need you, he says. He wants a younger man. I am sorry, Mendel.
I turned away. This was the end. There was only one thing left to do. At home, I made a fire in the kitchen stove. Then I went to my old trunk and took from it the little red velvet sack that held my phylacteries. My hands trembled. It was a dreadful thing I meant to do. My phylacteries were my one last link with God. When I had burnt them, all would be over for me. Nothing would remain but to destroy myself. I would curse God and die. I stood before the fire. I lifted up the phylacteries and shut my eyes. I saw myself as a boy the day I had received them. I saw myself as a young man, Deborah beside me, and all my fresh young hopes. God did not understand why I had to do this thing, but maybe Deborah could. I spoke to her. Deborah, you do understand, don't you? I have nothing now. You have gone from me, and my sons have gone. Now even my work. It is too hard, Deborah. Too hard to be a human being. Out of the whirlwind, Job, God spoke to you. He spoke to me now through Deborah. There by the kitchen stove, from some long ago time, her voice came back to me.
Too hard to be a human being, Mendel? Is there something else you'd rather be?
She spoke, and I thought of all our life together, our many sorrows, our few joys. I thought of love and birth and death, of trees in springtime, cowslips in the meadows, the first snowfall. I thought of all the things that only a human being knows. Suppose there had never been a Mendel Singer. Wonder filled my heart and a strange softening.
I put on my phylacteries. I could say the words now. Give thanks to his holy name, for his anger is but for a moment. His favor is for a lifetime. Weeping may tarry for the night, but joy cometh in the morning. What I have to tell now sounds like a miracle. And I do not know if I believe in miracles except the miracle of life itself. Call it what you will. While I prayed there by the kitchen stove, there came a knocking.
Who is it? Is this the house of Mendel Singer? Yes. I'll open the door. Who are you? You're a stranger, and yet I know you.
They call me Menuchem.
Miracle? I do not know. Call it what you like. The mercy of God, the skill of science. But in my old age, my son was restored to me, and well.
I don't remember very much, Father, but this is what I was told. When war came, I was living with an aunt in Zuchno.
Your mother's sister, Sarah?
Yes. The town was shelled. Our house burned. She was killed. But someone saved me. Later, I was taken to an orphanage in Kiev. There, a doctor saw me. He operated on my brain.
It was what we wanted, why we left you, what we worked and sweat for all those years. Menuchem, do you remember anything of the old life, the house in Zuchno?
No.
Your brothers?
No.
Your mother, do you remember your mother, Menuchem?
I remember a face. A woman's face. And I remember snatches of a song.
A song? Sing it. Sing it, Menuchem.
I'll try.
Deborah, did you hear him? It's Menuchem. He's well. He's singing you a song. I'm not alone, Deborah. I'm not alone.
I sit here now in the darkness. My Bible is open at the book of Job. It is too dark to read the words. It does not matter. I know them. I know the beginning and I know the end. As a shock of corn comes in season, I have accepted my manhood and come to rest. He who is father to the raindrop as well as to the whirlwind has brought me to rest. Now I can say it with you, Job. I have heard of thee by the hearing of the ear, but now mine eye seeth thee.
And now, we present a brief talk by Rabbi Rudolph M. Rosenthal of Temple on the Heights, Cleveland Heights, Ohio. Rabbi Rosenthal speaks to you from New York. Rabbi Rosenthal.
The majestic drama of the book of Job deals with the difficulties of reconciling evil with God. Finally, to Job was revealed God's answer. Job had been too self-centered in his sorrows. To pose our human will against God's will is to presume that we know as much as God, or more. And to expect God to be used by us is black magic. But to be used by God is high religion. To act as if we own God is to utter blasphemy. To be possessed by God is the ecstasy of divine love. Job asked, Shall we receive good at the hand of God and not evil? When evil comes, Job sees behind it good, and above good and evil he perceives God. Religion is not an escape from evil, nor is it an immunity from death. Religion is a power to confront all of the circumstances of existence, sustained by God. Out of the deepest night of his darkest doubt, Job brings the mighty affirmation of his heroic faith. Yea, even though he slay me, yet will I trust in him. Yes, evil and good are inextricably bound up in the pattern of God's divine economy. For how would we know what is good if we did not experience what was bad? And if it is difficult for the religionist to explain the presence of evil in the good universe, then it is well nigh impossible for the non-believer to explain the presence of good in a bad world. For how out of a world created by the devil could saints emerge? Today there is much planning about a better world, but there will be no one world until there is a world worthy of one God. During the war we were united in the hatred of a common enemy, but there will be no peace until we are united in the love of a common God. Let men learn to look up to God, the Father of all men, and they will cease to look down upon humanity. Let men learn to fear God, and they will cease to fear men. Job said it so very well. The fear of the Lord, that is wisdom, and to depart from evil is understanding.
Thank you, Rabbi Rosenthal. Today's Eternal Light play, adapted for radio by Virginia Wells, was the second and concluding chapter of a special two-part series based on the book Job by Joseph Roth, published by the Viking Press. The music for our program today was composed and conducted by Morris Momorsky. Liturgical music was sung by cantor Robert Siegel. Roger DeCoven was featured as Job and Bryna Rayburn as Deborah. The entire production was under the direction of Frank Patt. This is NBC, the National Broadcasting Company.
Shomer Yisrael, Moshe Ris Yisrael, Al Yovad Yisrael, Omrim Shema Yisrael.
And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Command the children of Israel that they bring unto thee pure oil olive, beaten for the light, to cause the lamps to burn continually in the tabernacle of the congregation. And it shall be a statute forever in your generations.
The Eternal Light. The National Broadcasting Company and its affiliated independent stations present The Eternal Light, a program which comes to you under the auspices of the Jewish Theological Seminary of America. Our play today, by Harold Rosenberg, is an adaptation of the original French of Jean Racine's classic drama Athalie. Featured in the cast are Anne Seymour in the role of Athalie and Raymond Edward Johnson as Jehoiada, the high priest.
kings had reigned in Judah after David. And then a woman sat on the sacred throne, Queen Athaliah. Death and murder had placed her there, for her husband died in misery and her son was slain. Then Athaliah murdered her son's children, the heirs of David, so that she might rule over Judah. For 6 years, the murderous Athaliah sat islanded on her throne, surrounded and safeguarded by a sea of death. And Baal, the idol of sensuality, reigned with Athaliah in Jerusalem, and the queen hated God. And her Tyrian gods hunted those still loyal to David's house, and her priests of shame threatened the holy temple itself. Judah lay helpless under the terror of this hard, jealous woman, when suddenly, one morning in her palace at dawn,
No. Your Highness, I thought I heard...
Go away.
The priest of Baal is here.
Huh?
It's Matan, madam.
Matan. Yes. Bring him here.
Queen Athaliah, are you safe? What has happened?
I was dreaming. I saw...
Praise to Baal, only a dream. For a moment I thought...
I was being murdered.
There's always the danger of conspiracy. The Hebrews are still not entirely pacified.
No, Matan. I've killed my enemies. The accursed race of David is destroyed. Jerusalem has never been more peaceful.
Queen, what then?
A dream. Why should a dream disturb me, Matan? I, who have been capable of any act. Listen. I seem to awaken in an endless night. Suddenly my mother Jezebel was standing at my bedside adorned, and with her eyes painted as on the day she died.
Are you afraid, Athaliah? Yes, you should be, my poor child. You too will fall into the hands of the living God. I pity you, my daughter. My daughter.
And her shadow stooped over my bed, and I reached out to embrace her. My fingers touched a mangled corpse, rags soaked in blood, flesh and bones that dogs had fought over.
Great Baal. Exactly how Queen Jezebel was slain.
I swooned backwards into darkness. When I opened my eyes again, a young man stood before me in the white robes of a Hebrew priest. The sight of him revived me. His sweet face, his charm, his grace soothed my heart.
Sweet boy, who are you? Your glance is so noble, as if you were of royal race. Tell me who... No, don't do it. No!
Still with the look of innocence on his face, the boy drew a dagger and stabbed me through the heart.
My queen, it is but a chance combination of things, typical of a dream.
Oh, Matan, I try to think of it that way. But I've had this same dream before, and I cannot escape it. You've stabbed me again and again. The horror of it is haunting my mind. There is only one thing left to do. I must go to the temple of the Judeans.
Oh, don't venture among your enemies, my queen. Order the temple destroyed.
Be patient, Matan. It will surely come to that later. But now, I must go there. I feel that in the temple, I shall learn about the boy in my dreams.
At dawn on the day when loyal Judeans were to celebrate the giving of the law on Mount Sinai, celebrated in sadness for the wreck of David's house, Abner, a royal officer still loyal to Judea, came to the temple before services began. In the portico, he met the high priest Jehoiada.
Happy holiday, O high priest.
Happy holiday, Abner.
We still say happy holiday. But alas, how times have changed, even for us who are not old. How joyful the temple used to be on this day, all covered with beautiful festoons and wreaths. And when the sacred trumpet blew, what crowds came through the gates, each man bearing the first fruits of his fields to the God of Israel. Now the people run to the shameful mysteries of Baal.
Malice of one woman has caused all this.
I fear she may go even further.
What more can this tyrant do? Already she's blotted out David's royal line by murdering her own son's children.
You yourself may be in danger, and this house of God. Athalie is in a dark mood, and Matan, who rules her mind, speaks of the temple as if some secret menace were hidden here.
Suppose there were, Abner. Where would you stand?
What are you saying, Jehoiada?
For 6 years, an idol-worshipping alien has usurped David's throne, having dared to bathe her hands in the blood of our kings. And you, an officer trained in the camp of our great king, Jehoshaphat, stand as a prop in this criminal state.
You know I fear the God of Israel. And act. What can I do? Since David's line was wiped out, Judah has lost its old daring. They feel that our God has forsaken us.
Forsaken us? Our generation has seen the lying prophets overwhelmed and heavenly fire fall on the altar. The powerful Jezebel dragged on the earth for her crimes.
But where is the promised reign of David that was to bring peace to the world?
Why do you doubt God's word?
Is not the tree of David dead to the roots? Can the babies that Athalie slaughtered rise from the grave? If one had escaped, if only one son were left at David's house.
Suppose such a boy were alive.
Why, everything would be changed. Our faith would return, our tribes would rise. But why torment ourselves? We saw all the princes die.
Let's go now. Prepare for the morning prayers. Farewell, Abner.
You understand, Jehoiada, if there's anything I can do.
Abner, you will see that when God has promised, His will is done.
Jehoiada the high priest had a secret reason for his hope. For when Athaliah destroyed the royal seed, Joash, one of the king's sons, was stolen alive from among the slain and hidden from Athaliah in the house of the Lord. The boy served at the altar under the name of Eliakim, and none but Jehoiada and Jehoshaphat his wife knew who he was. But now, Athaliah was making even this dangerous security impossible.
I am afraid we shall not be able to hide the boy much longer, Jehoshaphat. We must act, or see incense offered to Baal on the holy altar.
Jehoiada, what can we do?
Show the boy to the people and openly declare him heir to the throne today, when every faithful Judean is at the temple. There is no other way. Only in an heir of David will the people find the courage to revolt.
But when Athaliah hears that a royal child lives, won't she order her foreign troops to attack the temple at once? Who will stand against her bands?
Our priests and our Levites.
Can their faith make warriors of them? Oh, Jehoiada, what can their innocent hands, always lifted in prayer, know of fighting and bloodshed? Would Athaliah succeed once more?
Have you forgotten that the God of Moses, Joshua, and David fights on our side? God who protects innocent orphans and who hates tyrants?
Forgive me, my husband, but I still see that horrible room filled with young princes, and Athalie, a dagger in her hand, urging on the barbarian gods who are murdering them, and Joash bleeding, left for dead.
God wants us to trust him, Jehoshaphat. A king must sit on the throne of David.
So the end of the Shavuot services was set for the act of liberation. But as Jehoiada was offering the first fruits of the harvest on the altar, a dreadful event took place. Under the protection of an armed guard, Athaliah had come to search out the mystery of her dream. Leaving her men in the aisle, she strode forward alone to the altar like a sleepwalker, straight into the holy place where none but Levites may step. And Jehoiada the high priest turned upon her in rage.
Queen, I order you to quit this sacred ground. The house of God is forbidden to you for your crimes and your impiety. Come!
Athaliah opened her mouth to speak. One could almost hear already her command to arrest the daring high priest. But suddenly, she seemed to freeze in terror. her eyes fixed on the altar and on the boy Eliakim, standing there in his priestly robes. Then her lips moved.
It is he. It is the boy of my dream.
So Athaliah, recognizing Joash, the true heir to the throne, as the boy who had stabbed her in her dream, fled in fear to her palace.
Oh, Matan, you Abner, what does it mean? There he was beside the high priest, the youth of my fear. It was he in the same white garment with the same noble look. What is going to happen?
There is something frightful about this dream that changes into reality.
Abner, you saw him. Who is he?
I don't know. He's been serving at the altar for a year or more.
Why discuss the thing? We must make sure of him. If he is guilty, he must die.
What crime can the boy be guilty of?
Heaven has shown him to the queen with a dagger in his hand. What more do you ask for?
Blood seems to flow too slowly for you, O priest. Madam, what have you to fear? A dream, a feeble boy whom you thought you recognized. Perhaps you were mistaken.
I wish I were, Abner. Perhaps this dream has been in my mind too much. Very well. I shall have a closer look at him. Have him brought to me.
Madam, I fear...
There can be no reason to refuse, Abner. Bring him. I command it. And let them remember the temple in which they worship still stands. It will not be well for the high priest to insult me again.
Do not be afraid, Jehoshaphat. Take Eliakim to her. You go with him. There will be great things done in Judah today.
Abner and Jehoshaphat brought the boy called Eliakim before the fierce, distracted queen, his grandmother, and she questioned him.
Who is your father? Answer me, boy.
They say I am an orphan.
You have no kin?
They abandoned me.
What country do you come from?
The temple is my country.
Who took care of you?
God never lets his children want. He feeds the sparrows in the field. He blesses everything that lives.
Abner, this child troubles me strangely. How can I hate him? I feel pity.
So this is the terrible enemy. Oh, it's plain your dream was false.
We will go now, madam.
No, not yet. Boy, how do you pass your time?
I pray to God. I study the law.
What does it teach, this law?
That one must love God, that he is just, that sooner or later he takes revenge.
That is what all children do. Why do you answer for him? Let him speak for himself.
What can such a baby tell you?
He's too young to know how to lie. Let him answer my question. Yes, boy. God takes revenge?
God takes revenge on those who blaspheme his name.
What else does God do?
He is the defender of orphans. He humbles the proud and punishes crime.
I see. Now tell me, there are a great many men in this temple of yours. What do they do?
They pray to God.
And what pleasures do you have?
I assist the high priest at the service. I hear the singing.
That is all? Listen, boy, come to my palace. You will learn the joy of living.
The joys of the wicked soon run dry.
The wicked? Whom do you mean?
Please, madam, he is only a child.
I'm interested in the way you've been teaching him. Eliakim, you please me. You see, I am a queen and I have no heir. I want you to share what I have. You will be my son.
Your son?
Yes. What do you say?
To leave those who love me for...
Yes.
For a mother like you?
He has learned his lessons well. In everything he says, I see Jehoiada's hate. This is how you infect the youth and cultivate in them a horror at my name. I am satisfied. I wanted to see. I have seen. Go. We shall meet again. Matan, you are right. The temple must be destroyed. Muster my Tyrians. I entrust the task to you.
Most gracious queen, this is the happiest moment of my life.
Quick, girl, go fetch Matan back.
Yes, madam.
Madam, I heard...
I retract my command, Matan. You must not destroy the temple. No, not today. I have another plan.
Forgive me, Queen, but all your plans seem to cancel each
I
other.
must see the boy Eliakim once more.
My Queen, I have found out a few things about this boy. They have begun to boast of his ancestry. The Judeans...
It's just their plot to make him hate me. Matan, go to Yehoshua and say, the fire is kindled, the sword is raised. Nothing will keep your temple from destruction unless you send me this boy as hostage.
My friend, it is done. The temple is finished.
Why, I heard the queen retracts and wants the boy instead.
Yes, but if they refuse, the temple burns.
They surely won't refuse. Would they let that temple fall for some boy they don't even know?
Nabal, you are dealing with a very proud people. Jehoiada will defy the cruelest death rather than surrender a child dedicated to the service of God. They will refuse, I tell you. The rest is up to me, and fire and sword will rid my eyes of them. Madam Yehoshua.
Yes?
I come from the Queen with a message of peace.
That would be welcome.
It is rumored that your husband, the high priest, is involved in dangerous plots. Naturally, these charges are false, but the Queen simply insists on a guarantee. The young orphan she saw here.
Eliakim?
Frankly, I regret that Her Highness gives so much weight to a mere dream. But you know how women are.
And that is the message of peace you bring?
Why should you complain? Are we taking your son? What is this boy to you? They say your husband has great plans for him.
You find such rumors useful.
Now tell me, madam, aren't these rumors true? You won't say? Well, suit yourself. But remember, before the day ends, the boy goes to the Queen, or you will feel the wrath of her displeasure.
The storm is broken. The secret is almost out.
Matan, all but name the father of the boy.
Let us hide him again. In the desert this time.
Let him go as a suppliant to King Jehu.
Poor boy. From the moment of his birth, they sought his life.
We shall not hide the boy. We shall rely on God alone and act before Matan's plans are ready. Ishmael, order the temple gates closed, and let all grown males assemble below to receive arms.
Arm yourselves, sons of peace, with these swords and lances, which David consecrated here long ago to the God who shielded him from harm. And lo, here in my hands I hold the royal crown that rested once on David's brow. Come, let us crown our king and restore the sacred law.
By the scroll of the law, Jehoiada, the high priest, crowned the boy called Eliakim with David's crown as Joash, king of Judah.
Swear that you will punish evil and protect the innocent.
I swear.
And that you will never forget the poor, since you yourself were poor and an orphan.
I promise to follow the law of God. May he punish me if I depart from it.
With this sacred oil, I anoint thee king. Priests, Levites, Judeans, behold your king. With God, your single hope. Soon Athalie will come to seek his life, and her barbarian hordes will besiege us here. My sons, do not be afraid. The God of Israel has troubled the murderous in the night, and he will spread his terror through her hosts.
The enemy soldiers have come. The temple is surrounded. I could see lighted torches among them.
They have not kept us waiting. Let us divide our forces. You, Ishmael, take your men and guard the eastern gate. You, Abram, take the south. You, the north. You, the west. Athalie, guard the king, and from the ramparts let the people be told he lives. Each man shall stand his ground till death.
The enemy expects unarmed victims paralyzed by fear we shall surprise him. To your post, remnant of a valiant people. Let me have a sword. Jehoshaphat, bid the choir sing.
Assault, Athalie hesitated to give the signal. Perhaps she could not bear to think that the boy Eliakim would hate her still more. So, with the battering rams poised, she sent Abner to Jehoiada with the last demand that he give up the boy peacefully. And to Abner's amazement, Jehoiada seemed to yield to force.
Let her come and take the boy. Only one thing. She may come with her chief officers, but her men must stay outside the walls. They shall not pillage the sanctuary. And Abner, the boy...
I swear I will protect him.
And Jehoiada set a trap for Athalie.
How quiet it is, Matan. Are you sure?
No doubt they are hiding in panic. Ah, there is the high priest, posed like an ancient prophet in front of that screen.
So, Jehoiada, it was better to yield. Or are you still hoping for some miracle from your God? Come, where is the boy?
Remove the screen. There! Behold your king on his throne. Joash, your son's son.
Treason! God of the Judeans, you have done all this. You who set me against myself, who dreamed me with love, who confused me with pity, who beset me with vision.
God, take her away. Take her away, I say. Come, Judeans. Behold your king and renew through him Jacob's pact with the Lord. Now, king of the Judeans, begin your reign. Let not your heart be lifted up above your brethren. Never forget that power has its limits and its laws. That a judge of kings sits overhead. A judge who is the avenger of the innocent and the father of orphans. And now, we present Rabbi Edward Schoenfeld of the University Heights Jewish Center. Rabbi Schoenfeld.
We have just heard the story of the queen who ascended the throne of Judah through murder and treachery, forsaking God and the principles of Judaism to worship false gods. On Tuesday next, the Jewish people will observe Tisha B'Av, the fast of the 9th day of Av, which commemorates the destruction of Jerusalem and the Holy Temple. Events which remind us of Jewish heroism and self-sacrifice in the highest degree. You recall the story of Hannah, who sacrificed her 7 sons rather than permit them to worship idols. She believed in the one and only God. So she trained her sons to believe. They died gloriously, but they live everlastingly. Our children after us will only manifest such qualities as stir the admiration of the world if their mothers lead them to God, if their mothers live the religion which they desire their children to follow. The mother who kindles the lights on Sabbath Eve which are the symbol of her religion, likewise kindles in the souls of her sons the light which only death can extinguish. Give me the mother who fills the fairy palace of her child's growing imagination with a story that points the way to unselfish service, and I will show you the mother who blesses herself and her child. Give me the mother who prays for and with her child in its most impressionable years, and I will show you the modern Hannah, whose fame will never depart from the lips of the young whom she blessed with her presence. When a mother rears her child to service, to a consecrated spirit of usefulness, she is doing her part to rear that temple of humanity which must yet be constructed by the united efforts of the nations of the world. The period that precedes the fast day of the 9th of Av is followed by the Sabbath of consolation and hope. The hope of the temple rebuilt and the return of our people to the land of Israel. Mothers will be the inspiration of that hope. Mothers who will lead their families heavenward to the prophetic mountain of humanity, toward justice and everlasting peace.
Thank you, Rabbi Schoenfeld. Today's script was an adaptation for radio by Harold Rosenberg of the French classic Athalie by Jean Racine. The music was composed and conducted by Morris Momorsky. The liturgical music was sung by Cantor David Siegel. The entire production was under the direction of Ed King. Featured in the cast were Ann Seymour in the role of Athalia and Raymond Edward Johnson as Jehoiada the priest. This program is a weekly presentation of the National Broadcasting Company and its affiliated independent stations, and comes to you under the auspices of the Jewish Theological Seminary of America. This is NBC, the National Broadcasting Company.
And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Command the children of Israel that they bring unto thee pure oil olive beaten for the light, to cause the lamps to burn continually in the tabernacle of the congregation. And it shall be a statute forever in your generation.
The Eternal Light. The National Broadcasting Company and its affiliated independent stations present The Eternal Light. This program is brought to you under the auspices of the Jewish Theological Seminary of America. Our story today, The Would-Be Pauper, is written for radio by Harold Rosenberg and is based on a story by Abraham Risen. Featured as Reb Yoseber is Edgar Staley.
Let me tell you about our town's rich man, Reb Yoseber. Yoseber lives in a good house, has a tall, dignified wife and 2 well-bred children, and is highly valued in the community. In fact, it's his value to the community that this story is about. Yoseber often has visitors who remind him of his high standing in our town.
In short, Reb Yoseber, such is the miserable condition of our community bathhouse. It sounds unbearable.
Naturally, we, the committee for repairing the bathhouse, have come to you first with our problem.
Naturally. Have another glass of tea, friends.
No, thanks. It's getting late and we still have other people to see.
Oh, of course. But what can I do?
We want your advice, Red.
Advice? Unfortunately, the problem doesn't seem to present any difficulties. You hire a plumber and he makes the repairs.
And then?
Then you bathe.
That would be fine. If only it were as simple as that. 1, 2, 3, jump in the water and start bathing.
1, 2, 3.
No. There is an obstacle, Reb Yosebert.
An obstacle? What obstacle?
Well, yeah, you know, Reb Yosebert, the usual obstacle.
Oh, of course. I've got it. The plumber has to be paid.
Reb Yosebert understands the problem
He's
perfectly.
gotten to the very heart of the matter.
You, Reb Yosebert, being our town's richest man.
Get us off to a good start on our drive.
See that our town has a bathhouse that...
Yeah, my friends, take these 5 rubles.
Fine, Reb.
A very fine contribution.
The Almighty will reward you.
It is written, he who performs a good deed extends the boundaries of heaven.
We will be going now.
Good day, friends.
Until the next time we need your advice, Reb Yosebert, may we all live.
Till the next time.
That's our Reb Yosebert, a typical pillar of Jewish society, who agrees with the Bratislava rabbi that upon charity the universe is founded. But there's one thing wrong with Yosebert, our town's rich man.
Till the next time, he says. Oh, it can't go on.
Yosebert, give me some money, please. I've got to go shopping for
My
Sabbath.
dear wife, why couldn't you get here a little earlier? You might have saved me.
From what? What's the matter?
I'm ruined, that's all. They've utterly ruined me.
Who?
The committee for repairing the bathhouse. They've taken our last penny.
Why did you give it to them?
How can I refuse? They depend on me. What do we do for Sabbath?
Oh, we'll manage somehow. Don't worry. We won't greet the Sabbath with an empty table.
One of these days, there won't be anything left to pawn. Then they'll know that their rich man is a pauper.
That's it. Our Yosebert is a genuine town's rich man, except for one thing. He has no money, not a cent. And this has been true for years. Admittedly, being a pauper is rather a handicap when one is the town's rich man and is bound by his past to continue in that position. And Yosebert is bound. He hasn't the least idea of how to stop living up to his rich man's status.
Beautiful ceremony.
Come here, Dubdo. Don't step on the grass. You know, it's time our town cemetery has new fencing.
Fencing or no fencing, it's beautiful here. The cemetery is the one place a poor man can enjoy.
As I see it, Yankel, there are too many men who run off to the grave.
What do you mean?
Let's say I mean this Red Shmuel, from whose funeral we're coming. It's all very well for him to be buried with fine singing and flattering words from the rabbi. But it would have been better if, instead of dying, he'd shown a little sense of responsibility.
But, my dear wife...
What right has a man to die without a penny to his name and with a daughter that needs to be married off? He enjoys our cemetery. Oh, very pleasant for him. But what is going to happen to his orphan, Gittel?
What do you think will happen?
Reb Yosebert, I suppose.
Naturally. Our leading householder has already agreed to take her in.
He was willing.
What else was to do it? Who? The representatives of the community said to Reb Yosa, an orphan girl has been left on our hands. What is the solution? We need your advice.
And he didn't even object.
No one has ever heard Yosebert hesitate when it comes to doing his duty. He merely quoted the text, "He who adopts an orphan is like unto him who begot him," and added, "From now on, Gittel, daughter of Shmuel, is my daughter."
It's a good thing Yosebert has plenty of money. Dubdo, get down off that headstone. A marriageable daughter eats money, clothes, dinners, a dowry.
Leave it to our Reb Yossa. He can afford it.
Esther Baylor, this time we are definitely ruined.
So Yossa Bear has solved another community problem.
How could I help myself? They came to me. Could I let this poor child starve? I do only what's expected of any householder in Israel.
Well, we have survived so far.
We have nothing to eat ourselves. Does the poor orphan have to suffer too? Oh, why don't they leave me alone? Why, they don't bother other paupers.
Sit down and have a glass of tea. Oh, here, let me help you off with your coat.
Oh, I wish someone would carry this coat off to the ends of the earth. All our troubles come from things like this garment. Why must I wear a fur coat like a millionaire? Why must we have a white tablecloth on the table on an ordinary Tuesday? No wonder people think I'm rich.
Oh, don't blame this poor old coat. But look how the fur is rubbed away on the collar. The seams are green with age.
Yeah. Still, it's the coat of a rich man. People don't see the bald spots in the fur or the holes in the elbows. They see the original coat as it was 30 years ago. The changes they don't see. Nor do they see the changes in the owner of the coat. I must get rid of it.
And this beautiful beard of yours that shines like silver, that's also a rich man's. Can you get rid of it?
Oh.
Come sit down. I'll get the tea.
You see, I'll show them I'm a pauper yet.
If they don't see it now, they'll never see it.
The fact is that Yossa Bear's poverty is perfectly obvious. But a mysterious fatality seems to prevent his fellow citizens from becoming aware of what lies before their eyes.
Oh, good day, Yossa Bear.
Good day.
Even though my business is taking things in pawn, it grieves me to see you with another package. It looks heavy. Here, let me set it down on the counter.
Just unwrap the sheet, Reb Zelig. There. Now, this clock is genuine porcelain. And the works are perfect.
A beautiful clock. Oh, it belongs in your house, not here.
It belongs here. Everything I have belongs here. Isn't it written, the more gold, the more anxiety?
It is also written, poverty is worse than 50 plagues.
Apparently, both wealth and poverty are evils. And I suffer from both. For I'm this town's rich, poor man. If I were simply poor, half my burdens would be lifted from me.
At the rate your possessions have been diminishing, you will soon be stripped down to a bare skeleton.
Well, at least then the town will see that my bones are the same shape as any other poor man's.
Well, for this clock, I can give you...
Yes?
Wait. Here comes Reb Mendel down the street. Step behind this partition so he won't see you.
Oh, why should I hide? If he sees me, all the better.
What are you saying? No one wants to be found in a pawn shop. Hide, Yossa Bear. What? He's carrying a package. He may be coming here.
Let him come. I want nothing better than to be found here by a member of the committee for repairing the bathhouse.
Here he is. Too late to hide now. But wait, he's going by.
No.
Hooray, he's passing. And without looking in.
Just my luck.
What? He's coming back in a hurry. He must have been making sure no one was watching. Here he is.
Good.
Reb Yossa.
You here? You see, why not? On business, too. Aren't you surprised to see me?
For a moment, I was taken aback. So you brought your porcelain clock, too? Here is mine. My wife also insists on one of those new ebony types from America. But let me tell you, Reb Zelig, this old clock is actually worth a lot more.
To convince people that one is what one is not seems fairly easy. Paupers pass themselves off as millionaires. Cowards get themselves admired as heroes. There are even cases where women have managed to be taken for men. But to see what one really is, to be taken for a pauper when one actually is a pauper, that can apparently prove very difficult.
Why must we keep a servant? We can't afford it.
Can we let old Masha go? What would become of her? Do you want her to starve?
Oh, God forbid. But with a servant, who will believe I'm a pauper? What? Dessert again?
It's only a few baked apples. They cost next to nothing. Every peasant eats them.
Yeah, but they will say that I'm a rich man. I have dessert served every day.
Who tells you to call it dessert?
What else am I to call it?
Call it baked apples.
The rest of the year, Yusser Bear and his family managed to get by somehow. A miracle. But when Passover comes, our leading householder is in a real crisis. All the Passover expenses, wine, matzahs, special foods, a glass here, a pair of shoes there. Where is it all to come from? You've guessed it. Reb Zelig, the pawnbroker, has been honored with another visit. And Yusser Bear is just home with the proceeds of his father's golden goblet, a 10-ruble note.
They're waiting for you, Yusser Bear, in your study.
Who? Who's waiting?
The committee for the Passover fund for the poor.
I don't want to see them. I have no money for the Passover fund.
Go in and tell them that. Then everyone will know that Reb Yusser Bear has become a pauper.
I'll tell them. Don't you think I won't? Not 1 cent will they get. In fact, from now on, the Passover fund will have to take care of me.
That you'll never tell them.
You see, I'll go right in now. The mask is coming off. Sorry to have kept you gentlemen waiting. If you want to know, I was detained by some business with Reb Zelig, the pawnbroker.
A coincidence. We were just discussing pawning. One Passover, the Premislava rabbi gave all his money to the poor. Then his wife found something to pawn, bought a chicken, and made soup. But when the rabbi came home from shul, he told her to take the chicken and the soup to a poor woman who had just given birth to a baby.
And the great rabbi and his wife ate matzahs and potatoes for their seder.
Oh.
The Belzer rabbi even pawned his Sabbath candlesticks for charity.
Yes.
In our times, such Jews no longer exist. Oh, but excuse me, Reb Yusser Bear. You were saying something about the pawnbroker?
No. I just, please, go ahead.
Oh, saints like those rabbis we no longer have with us. But poor people to take care of, we have more than ever before in the history of the world. What do you think, Reb Yusser Bear?
It's a fact.
In our opinion, we must have a large fund this year for matzahs, wine, potatoes. What is your advice, Reb Yusser Bear?
I agree. I must give you something. At least the soup. At least something. Can you change a note?
If it's 100-ruble note, we haven't enough yet.
It isn't exactly 100. It's less.
50?
No, I'm afraid... here it is.
10 rubles, the same as last year. You're not serious about change, of course. Were you joking?
Well, of course, as the rabbi says, charity is a cure for every headache. Take it all.
A fine donation, Reb Yusser Bear.
The Almighty will reward you.
Reb Yusser Bear back again. But you were just here an hour ago.
Yes, it seems that my advice was needed for the Passover. You're wondering what the pledge will be this time.
I don't see the usual package wrapped in a white sheet,
There's no need to wrap this pledge. Here it is.
What are you doing? You mean you want to pawn your greatcoat? No, don't take it off. I won't accept it.
There it is on your counter.
Why?
I admit it's old, but it's still worth something.
Well, it's worth too much. It's worth more than I can pay.
Oh, what are you saying? An old fur coat that's losing its hair? One would be lucky to get 10 rubles for it. Yeah, I've worn it long enough.
Well, a man gets old, too, but he's still entitled to keep his dignity. God forbid I should take it. It'd be like receiving in pawn a living being. Here, 10 rubles. Take the money and put the coat back on.
Now, please, Reb Zelig, take the coat and save my life. For years, this coat of a gentleman has been covering a lie. Our whole town has been blinded by it.
For 30 years, I have seen this coat walking proudly on its way to shul each Sabbath and holy day. How will it look for our Reb Yosef Bear to be leaping about town like a plucked chicken?
It will look exactly as it should look, like the truth. Now, please, Reb Zelig, remove my yoke of false appearances.
Well, maybe what you say. No, the coat is out of the question. Take the money.
No, but Reb Zelig, just keep the coat. You'll make me a free man. You'll restore my dignity. What's wrong with being poor? No more concealment. No more misunderstandings. People know me exactly as I am. Don't you see? Reb Zelig, you're taking it off the counter. You know I'm right. Save! A new life is opening before me. Thank you, Reb Zelig, and goodbye. Happy holiday to you. Now they'll see that their Yosef Bear is just a poor Jew like the rest. It's a bit chilly, but it's a little shiver when a man's just risen from the dead. Good day, gentlemen.
Good day, Reb Yosef.
No more advice will they ask of me, a man of naked poverty.
Isn't Yosef Bear looking wonderful?
A happy man. As it says in the Talmud, great is charity. It uplifts the soul.
Nevertheless, it's a bit early to be without a coat.
Weather is a matter of how one feels. I, wrapped up as I am, feel chilly, while Yosef Bear is apparently so full of energy it annoys him to be bundled up. We should all be putting away our coats earlier. It's better for the health.
Reb Yosef Bear, I've been looking everywhere for you. We need your advice at once.
Advice, eh? Look, isn't it chilly out, Reb Shammah?
It could be. Anyway, a student has just arrived from out of town. A wonderful young man, a genuine scholar. And this genius likes a place to stay for Passover.
A traveler? Without a seder? God forbid.
So we thought of asking you. He's an orphan, but of excellent family.
Of course, send him to me. Isn't it written hospitality is greater than a visit to the house of study?
I'll bring him right away. He'll be at your house this afternoon. Reb Yosef Bear, just a minute. A text just sprang into my mind. Who does charity all the time? Asked the Ketubot. And it answers, he who adopts an orphan girl and an orphan boy and marries one to the other.
The Seder of Yosef Bear, our town's rich man, somehow turns out to be a genuinely regal affair. There he sits at the head of the table, a king reclining deeply in his pillow, surrounded by his court. To his left are his two princes, Avremel, quite a young man, and Yisrolik, also past bar mitzvah, who is asking the question.
Why is this night different from all other nights? On all other nights we eat leaven.
To the right of Yosef Bear, his queen, Esther Bela, hurries to keep up with the reading of the Haggadah, which as usual races ahead with the speed of King Solomon's chariot.
Borei peri hagofen, Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher b'chavonu mikol.
While beyond Esther Bela, the two orphans, the girl Gittel and the clever student from out of town, keep their eyes glued on their Haggadahs, as if they never before saw anything so fascinating. She murmurs like a dove, even when they get to the 10 plagues.
Dam, Valdea, Keenan, Deva, Shachin Bovel.
At dinner, everything turns out wonderfully. The beet juice is even better than last year.
The king of the Seder leans back, shining, happily exhausted from the reading, the cups of wine, the holiday food. And now it's time to return to the Haggadah.
Let's say grace. Baruch she'ochalnu mishlo u'v'tulo.
Wake up, Yossephere. Wake up. I need your advice.
What? Did someone say advice?
The student wants to marry Gittel. She just told me while we were washing the dishes.
Oh, congratulations. Mazel tov.
But of course they can't get married.
Well, what's stopping them?
Oh, it's obvious. He's a poor boy, and he must go on with his studies.
Oh.
Of course, if she had a father, he'd support the young man for a few years, according to the tradition of giving tests to student bridegrooms. But as it is...
Oh, what's the matter with you, Esther Baylor? Can such a match be allowed to fail for such trivial reasons? Tell them that Yossephere, the bride's foster father, invited him to live here with his bride and devote himself to his studies.
Oh, Yossephere, money or no money, you will always be a rich man.
And now, we present Rabbi Harry W. Katchen of the Jewish Theological Seminary of America. Rabbi Katchen.
We have just been privileged to look into a tiny corner of a world that is gone and of a simple life virtually destroyed. The Jew lived within the dark confines of the ghettos of Eastern Europe, a life steeped in poverty. Yet he reflected a beauty of the inner spirit which gave remarkable evidence of how ordinary men and women can rise above the ordinary if their lives be suffused with great ideals. Reb Yossephere is typical of the average Jew who joyfully lived the life enjoined by the law. He felt that God was near to him and believed it his duty to help establish God's kingdom on earth through deeds of righteousness. An ancient rabbi, commenting on a verse in the Song of Songs, pictures God as saying to Israel, "Behold, thou art fair, my love. You are fair through the giving of alms and performing acts of good deeds. You are my friend when you walk in my ways. As the Omnipresent is merciful and gracious, long-suffering and abundant in goodness, so be ye, feeding the hungry, giving drink to the thirsty, clothing the naked, ransoming the captive, and marrying the orphan." Judaism teaches that to relieve the oppressed and to help the downtrodden is to share in a divine work, an essential preliminary to establishing God's kingdom. Tzedakah or charity and Gemilas Chasodim, the performance of good deeds, outweigh all other commandments, say the rabbis. Tinius Rufus, the Roman, once asked Rabbi Akiba, "Why does your God, being the lover of the needy, not himself provide for their support?" His reply was, "By tzedakah or righteousness, wealth is to be made a means of salvation. God, the Father of both the rich and the poor, wants the one to help the other,
and thus make the world a household of love. The simple life of long ago is gone. Today we live in a complex world and are sorely beset by complex problems. But the simple faith of old, blessed is he that considereth the poor, the Lord will deliver him in time of trouble, can help make our disturbed world a household of love and guide us in our search for the heavenly kingdom.
Thank you, Rabbi Ketchum. Today's radio play was written for the Eternal Light by Harold Rosenberg and was based on a story by Abraham Risen. The music was composed by Morris Momorsky and conducted by Milton Catums. Cantor Robert H. Siegel sang the liturgical music. The role of Red Yosebear was played by Edgar Staley. The entire production was under the direction of Ed King. This program is a weekly presentation of the National Broadcasting Company and its affiliated independent stations, and comes to you under the auspices of the Jewish Theological Seminary of America.